Eric Rubner can do everything from a marketing perspective and resources perspective and money. I just don't get why the CFO, a chief financial officer, would have any involvement in who manages the ball club.
Because he has equity in the team, because he wants control, because he wants power.
But does that make sense to you?
No.
Now, live from the San Diego Sports 760 studios, it's John and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? John and Jim on a Friday. Of course, John is on his way to Fresno for the Aztecs in Fresno State tomorrow afternoon. 12:30 kickoff time. 10:30 is when our pregame coverage starts. This weekend is why I have said October is the best sports month of the year. We have everything, Brent. Literally, we have everything other than, I think, college basketball. But still, actually, we might have college basketball this weekend. We have, obviously, college football in the NFL. We have the NBA. We have the MLS postseason. We have the World Series. We have NHL. I mean, what else do we have? And everything. Literally everything is happening this weekend. So it is, look, if you have plans this weekend, you might want to cancel those plans and just try to find a way to stay indoors all weekend and have the quad box up on your YouTube TV so you can watch every single sporting event you possibly can, because this is the weekend to do that.
Yeah, I know. When I was like thinking of, what am I going to do for updates today? And I'm just like,
You have everything.
there's so much stuff. It's like, I'm not even going to have time. I was like, I'm going to have to kind of alternate what I leave out in each one because, you know,
At least stuff on the cutting board table.
Yeah, there's so much stuff going on and I just won't have enough time to fit it in.
Yeah, there's every single sport is underway this weekend, and it just could not be better. It really couldn't. You know, some people are living in areas where it's colder and it's not nice, and so it's a little difficult when you're here in San Diego and it's 75 and sunny outside, and you know you don't want to stay inside and stay indoors all day long and watch sports, and you want a reason. Like if it was raining this weekend here in San Diego, it'd be great. It would be a great sports watching weekend. Just you don't have to go outside. You just stay indoors, stay on your couch, order some takeout, get some Grubhub, and watch literally everything. Now, I don't want it to rain on Sunday night because SDFC takes on Portland Timbers in their first ever playoff match. We'll talk about that later in the show today. And we have an update on Chucky Lozano, so we'll get to that. World Series games 1 games 1 and 2 tonight and tomorrow. The NFL this weekend, college football. I mean, like I said, everything is happening. The one thing that's not happening is any update on the Padres managerial search. Now, am I surprised by that? No. It's game 1 of the World Series. You're not going to get any significant news today from any other teams around baseball. You're just not. It's kind of like that little unwritten rule that, hey, when our league has the championship series, let's not make any major news on those game days, okay? Now, on off days, yeah, if you want to announce something on an off day, but when it's game 1 of the World Series, the likelihood of you seeing any real action with any other team, especially a team looking for their manager, not going to happen. The only sport where you see stuff happening on, you know, either a game during their championship series or around the time of their game is if LeBron decides he wants to be back in the news, and then he'll make up something and then he'll be back in the news during the finals because LeBron is the biggest egomaniac on the planet. But other than that, you're not going to get much this weekend, and probably not anytime soon. You know, we had the little game yesterday of pick the day that will get the Padres to announce they have hired their new manager. And because I think this series is probably going to be 5-6 games at the most. Well, next Thursday would be after game 5. Next Friday is game 6. And then next Saturday is game 7. I don't think it's going 7. I really don't. I think this thing is going to be potentially a close series, but I think the Dodgers, with their starting pitching, they're going to find a way to win. It's inevitable. Like I said, we're all just going to have to accept it. It's the worst. Their fans are the worst, and they're going to be invading all of our, social media platforms and all of our mentions, particularly mine, right? And just accept it. Let them gloat. Let them, say whatever they want to an extent, and just we got to move on because it's going to happen. Now, I would love for it not to happen. I would love for the Blue Jays to win the World Series. Then I can have a take of this is one of the biggest failures in recent memory from the Dodgers standpoint because of how much money they have spent to not win a World Series. Now, they won one last year, so I guess that take isn't like fully sustainable. But at the same time, this past offseason, they made a bunch of moves. They signed Blake Snell. They signed Tanner Scott. They signed Roki Sasaki. Right? They re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. They re-signed Tommy Edman. They just keep pouring money into this team. And when they don't win World Series, it's a failure. So I'm hoping that the Blue Jays find a way to pull off this upset. And it's crazy that they're this big of an underdog when they have home field and they were the better team in the regular season. But I get it. When you're going up against the defending World Series champions, Shohei Ohtani, their pitching staff, they have all the experience. Of course, they're going to be the favorites. So during this World Series, I don't think we're going to get any Padres news. The last time we got any Padres news was what? Maybe a week ago? And it wasn't even like anything substantial. It was like, hey, well, these are some of the candidates the Padres are going to interview. Like, okay. Didn't hear anything about the Albert Pujols interview. I don't even know if they formally interviewed Ruben Niebla yet, even though I think they did. Brian Esposito is a name that has been floating around out there. And the other name, Ryan Flaherty, who I actually think has a more legit chance to become the manager than Albert Pujols. Like, are we going to hear anything about Ryan Flaherty? Darren does this game, or he did this game while he was here, the station. He might still do it. I don't know. I think he was on a podcast with Marty on Marty's YouTube channel, and they were talking about, because I listened to it, and they were talking about doing this. And it's pick the manager, put it in an envelope, and then when the Padres announce their manager, open the envelope, see if you got it right. Because my mind can change and my opinions can change daily. That's everybody's opinions can change. Like one day I could think Albert Pujols is the right guy. The next day I could think that Ruben Niebla is the right guy. The next day I could think Ryan Flaherty's the right guy. Or maybe there's a mystery candidate out there that we haven't talked about yet. So Ryan Flaherty is a name that I do think is going to get some serious consideration here. And why I say that is because Dennis wrote an article last week detailing how back in 2023, after Bob Melvin left to the Giants, AJ Preller wanted Ryan Flaherty. But Group Dog and I guess Eric Casenda, right? I don't know the details on that. But it sounds like Preller was kind of, overrided here. Hey, yeah, and we know you want Ryan Flaherty, but hey, look at this. Look at Mike Schilt over here. He's a manager, a former manager of the year. He's won 90 plus games, taking his team to the postseason. We want this guy. Mike Schilt ended up fizzling out. He ended up quitting, couldn't take the heat, and he took his ball and he went home. So are the Padres going to allow AJ, if he's even the guy, to go and get his own guy? And is his own guy going to be, once again, potentially Ryan Flaherty? Because it sounds like Ryan Flaherty was his guy back in 2023. It's just, he wasn't, he got overrided. Like, if you're in a room with 3 people and it was like, raise your hand if you want Ryan Flaherty. Well, AJ was probably the only guy that raised his hand. So the next week, probably going to be very quiet from the Padres front. That's just my guess. And then towards the end of the month, when the World Series ends, then things are going to start picking up. Because however you want to look at the Mike Schultz thing, I do think there was, if he wasn't fired, which, believe whatever you want to believe. I do believe there is a little bit of a blindside feeling here. And when that happens, you're not fully prepared for it. So it's going to take a little longer to maybe, hire a manager than it would have been in the past. 2022 after they fired, or 2021, excuse me, after they fired Jace Tingler, they knew they were going to fire Jace Tingler, and they knew that they had to get ready to go for a manager search. 2023, everybody knew in that organization that the Melvin and the Preller thing wasn't going to work. Now, the most unfortunate thing in the world happened, and that was the passing of Peter Seidler. But everybody knew that the Bob Melvin thing was not going to work, and they had a sense in the back of their minds, especially AJ, probably going to have to be looking for a new manager here pretty soon. And if not, like right now. I do think there is a little bit of a, wait, what? We have to now look for another manager aspect of this. And so with that, it could take a little longer. So expect crickets around the Padres this upcoming week. Could be wrong. Maybe Sunday they announce. I don't know. But my hunch is they don't. And if I were to put a name in a hat, Brent, or a name in an envelope, like I would need 2 envelopes. What my heart's telling me and what my head's telling me. What my heart, that's the Albert Pujols. My head, that's telling me Ryan Flaherty.
Same.
Even though there's like barely any reporting on this as of right now. I'm just looking at the trends here, and I'm looking at past reporting, and I'm looking at how close Ryan Flaherty was to becoming the Padres manager after Bob Melvin. And with AJ still here, and it seems like he's not going anywhere. I mean, knock on wood. Seems like Ryan Flaherty would be like the safe hire. It feels like that's going to be the guy that they're going to hire. And look, if they do that, would I be disappointed? Because it's not Albert Pujols. Like at this point in time, it's just okay, whatever. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, the Albert Pujols thing would make a lot of people excited. But even with Albert, there's still questions. No doubt about it. Albert to me is the outside the box hire. Like the Giants went way outside the box with their hire of Tony Vitello. Getting Albert Pujols to me would be one of those that's outside the box. And sometimes that doesn't hurt. Sometimes outside the box, that's the way to go. Do you always want to play it safe, or do you want to go outside the box? To me, Ryan Flaherty, that's pretty safe. Albert Pujols, that's kind of like an outside the box, exciting hire. So we'll see about that. And until then, until we figure out, who the manager is going to be, my guess is for the next week, it's going to be very quiet. All right, coming up on the show today, Greg Camarillo is going to join us for our weekly chat at 4:30. Also, we got some tickets to give away to Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego later in the show. But coming up next, the first 3 nights of the NBA season, Brent, have been phenomenal. We'll talk about that coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back here on John and Jim. Listen for your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego. This year, new horrors awaken with 5 haunted houses, 8 terrifying scare zones, hidden speakeasies, and the shrills of coasters after dark. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now through November 2nd. Halloween fun for the whole family for a limited time. Kids go free with paid adult ticket. Visit SeaWorldSanDiego.com for more information. So tonight, Brent, is the debut of the NBA on Prime. And do we have Lakers basketball tonight on the station?
We do.
Okay.
6:45.
Perfect. We have Lakers basketball tonight. Lakers and T-Wolves. As Brent said, they're 6:45. So when the pregame starts, 7 p.m. is tip-off. And then the other matchup tonight on Prime is Celtics and Knicks. So 4:30, Celtics, Knicks, 7 p.m., Lakers and T-Wolves. I'm excited to see how that looks, because that's all brand new. Like the NBC stuff, that's the NBA going back to NBC, and they were on NBC forever. The ESPN with the Inside Crew now, the last 2 nights, it was exactly what it needed to be. It was copy and paste. Take the Inside the NBA crew, put them on ESPN, let them do whatever the hell they want, and then obviously the games, that are the main attraction. But still, what the last 2 nights on ESPN did, I thought it was perfect. And I'm sure the ratings are going to show that they had a spike, and getting the rights to the Inside the NBA crew and just putting them on the network and not touching it at all. Like I don't know about you, Brent. I didn't see a different. Like I couldn't tell at all that they were on ESPN, other than the fact that the ESPN logo is everywhere.
Yeah, other than the fact that the TNT was swapped out for the ESPN logo on the thing, you can't tell any difference.
And the broadcasters on the games as well. But other than that, like I don't care. It's fine. Like Mike Breen was good. Obviously, Mike Breen's always good. But other than not hearing Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller on the TNT broadcast, that's the only difference. That was it. And I thought it was great.
Well, Harlan's working for Prime, so maybe you'll get him tonight for.
You absolutely will.
Games, so.
My guess is they're going to get him for Celtics Knicks, because that's the prime time.
Will do the second one.
Yep. Iron Eagle or No Eagle? Oh no, Iron Eagle.
It's Iron Eagle.
Yeah, No Eagle. His
Eagle's,
son does. Does NBC. So I'm excited about that. And the first 3 days of the NBA season have been phenomenal.
Well, because they've almost crammed 4 days worth of basketball into 3 days with all the overtimes.
You've had, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, so 2, 4. You've had 5 overtimes in the matter of 2 nights on primetime television. You had an overtime game last night, Warriors and Nuggets, Steph Curry. And then you had another double overtime with Thunder and Pacers, and then a double overtime with Thunder and Rockets in the opener. Dude, it has been just some really good basketball. And one thing, I was texting with John about this. What's been like one of the complaints with the NBA product, especially early on in the season?
They don't try and they don't play defense.
That the first 2 nights. Now these are just primetime games. I haven't watched every single game, obviously, but just a primetime game, Brent. To me, these have felt like playoff games. Like the intensity, the care factor, it's been at an all-time high, and that's why it's been such good basketball the first 2 nights of the NBA season.
Well, I'm hoping that we talked earlier in the week about how deep the West is this year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the West is just going to be so deep this year that pretty much every game of the conference is going to have like a playoff like level atmosphere and intensity to it, because they're going to be so tight with everything.
Like just one game could mean between the 3 seed and the 8 seed.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's going to really be the big test this year. But yeah, if you're NBC and Peacock and ESPN, this could have been a better.
Oh, could not have been better.
Even with all the
I'm putting that in there.
That's
That's
you're
why
including that.
I'm
Okay.
including that because no one loves scandals more than professional sports.
That's true.
So like throw in the scandal, right? Throw in the amazing games, the amazing performances. You had Aaron Gordon last night going for 50, Shea's going for 55, Steph's going for 42. The opener, you had all these great performances. Luka had 43. Like all of it combined. Wemby, can't forget about Wemby, like the greatest basketball player ever. He goes out there and he just looks as terrifying as any basketball player's ever looked. The performances, the games, the scandal, the production inside the NBA, NBA on NBC, like it has all been just great. And I think that, yesterday we talked about how, this is awful for Adam Silver. I'm actually going to take Chris Hodges' approach and say, this is the best thing, what has happened this week, what's transpired this week, because everybody's talking about the NBA right now. And it's not just about the scandal. It's about the amazing games and performances as well. And the new networks and the inside the NBA and then Prime tonight. Like, I think all of it, it's great for the NBA.
They just have to keep it up.
Right.
It's sure the first week is going to be awesome because nobody's doing load management in the first week.
No.
But if we get 2 weeks from now and all of a sudden guys start to sit just to sit and stuff like that, that might be a little bit of a bummer on it. But
right, you can't do load management during the NBA Cup season. All right, NBA Cup starts in a couple weeks,
dude. That last three, I think the three that tied it to send it into overtime, that Steph shot.
Oh my gosh.
That just went like straight in the air and looked like it was going to be an air ball. And then it just like, isn't even going to get there. And it's just like, nope. Boop. Just
an incredible game last night from both matchups.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just, I was glued. I loved it. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait for Prime tonight. I hope it continues. And yeah, the NBA is back, even though it didn't really go anywhere, but they have upped their game to start this season. Okay, coming up next, we had Mike Farron on the show earlier this week to discuss the Padres managerial search. Also, get us ready for Game 1 of the World Series. You're going to hear that conversation coming up next, right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Mucinex Kickstart. Game 1 of the World Series is tonight at 5 o'clock in Toronto. It's going to be Blake Snell going for LA and Trey Yesovich going for the Blue Jays. Tomorrow afternoon, the Aztecs are on the road to take on Fresno State for the oil can. Our pregame coverage starts at 10:30. John and Rich will have the kickoff around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Pregame coverage for that starts at 6 o'clock right here in your home for San Diego FC. And the Lakers take on Minnesota tonight. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6:45. Tip's going to be around 7 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. Woke up feeling like cough, congestion, a headache was coming on. Have big plans for this weekend? Take Mucinex Kickstart all-in-one done relief with a morning jolt of instant cooling sensation. Mucinex Kickstart for relief with a kick at your favorite retailer. Use as directed.
All right, back here on John and Jim. Game 1 of the World Series tonight. Blue Jays and Dodgers. Also, Padres looking for a new manager. One of the people that has interviewed for the Padres job so far has been Albert Pujols. So we had Mike Farron on earlier in the week, and we asked him, does Albert Pujols fit here in San Diego?
Yeah, so this is, I think, a really fascinating question because the number of former Hall of Famers who've gone on to be big league managers that are successful big league managers is pretty short. In fact, I think you can make a case that, like there were a couple of good years maybe of Yogi Berra and Paul Molitor, and I think I'm missing one in there. Gil Hodges led the Mets to the World Series in 1969, but he was put in the Hall of Fame posthumously. It just doesn't happen all that often. So I've been asking that same question, and I actually asked it of Molitor this morning, and he kind of gave a good answer on, just like understanding what players can do and trying to learn that on your own, as opposed to doing what San Diego's greatest native son outside of Tony Gwynn, Ted Williams, did, which was get frustrated with the way the guys couldn't hit like him because he was Ted Williams. So I think that's one part. And I think the other is that Albert seems to have a really good way of relating to people. He's very chill. He commands a room. He's a presence. He's very smart. And so he seems to have some of the soft science things that you would want in terms of having a manager there who maybe wouldn't just get frustrated with players who aren't be able to perform at the level that he did over the course of his career. And so I think that makes him a pretty intriguing candidate when you start to dig in and know that stuff. That said, I think it's a real long shot that he ends up as the manager of the Padres. I'm not sure that he is the first choice in that group. And really outside of the Angels, it sounds like the interest the Orioles had was a little bit overblown. So this is probably his only chance at it. And maybe he gets it in the end. I mean, he could wow them, and he certainly would carry a presence. But I think there are a number of other candidates in that mix that probably would be ahead of him, at least going into the interview in the pecking order. I know he interviewed today.
So of the other candidates, potentially, who do you envision could be a good fit here in San Diego? And if there's a name out there that you haven't heard potentially that you think could also be a good fit here at the Padres?
Yeah, Ryan Flaherty, I think, is the name that's come up a lot. He was obviously the bench coach for the Padres before he went to the Cubs. And, he was a teammate of Manny Machado's in Baltimore. And I think he's a name that is going to be linked to a lot of managerial openings. If not, San Diego, then I think Baltimore's a place that he has a good chance. His name has come up an awful lot. I think the other name that we've heard is probably Ruben Niebla, who we know has done a terrific job as a pitching coach there. I have a lot of respect for Ruben. I love Ruben. My dealings with him, I just think he's a terrific coach and a great dude. And I think he's got the right kind of personality to be able to handle that job. In terms of names that we haven't heard, I'll tell you the name of the guy that has not come up a lot publicly, and maybe it's because his organization does a job of keeping things quiet, and maybe he does too, because I don't think he's the most well-known, is Craig Albernaz, who's the bench coach of Cleveland. And you may be going, who the hell is Craig Albernaz? And I get it. I think that's probably fair. But Albernez, before he was Stephen Vogt's bench coach the last 2 years in Cleveland, was on staff with the San Francisco Giants at the major league level. Before that, he was a minor league manager and a coach in the Rays organization. And I can tell you that just about everywhere, well, not just about everywhere he's gone, people say that's a future big league manager. He is Stephen Vogt's closest friend. He is really good at relating to people. He is extremely baseball smart. So that's a name that I would consider in there too, that I just haven't heard his name linked with any of the openings. And quite frankly, I find that surprising because that's a guy who my understanding is could have had the Marlins job last year if he'd wanted it.
It's interesting because the names that you said there would all be first-time managers. So
yes.
What's your thoughts on a first-time manager for a team like the Padres that they're looking to win like right now compared to a team that's rebuilding?
Yeah, I think with a couple of those guys, specifically with Flaherty and with Niebla, they know the dynamics of that clubhouse. And, I know Flaherty hasn't been there in a couple of years, but he's got a pretty good feel for at least the core group of players, right? So I think that makes it a little different because you've already got a lot of ground covered in what a new manager has to do in learning the personnel. So I think it would be less of an issue there. In fact, it might be easier for them than it would be for a more experienced manager. And I don't think that they're guys that don't have experience, at least coaching. Like it's tough. Like I would love to see more minor league managers get opportunities. Morgan Ensberg, who's another San Diego guy, has been a AAA manager for the Rays for the last 3 years now, and was in AA before that, and was in A-ball. He's managed at every level. He's got like 1,200 games, and I don't think that there's anything that happens inside a game that would surprise him as a manager. And I just don't think that he's gotten that opportunity to really interview for those jobs yet. So, yeah, I think that there is something to be said for having experience in the managerial chair, whether it's in the minor leagues or in the big leagues. But really, 90% of that job, or 95%, we focus on the decision making, right? Who's the reliever you pull? Who's the pinch hitter? Where do you play your defense? That kind of stuff. And we make a big deal out of that. But in the end, it comes down to player execution. And 90 to 95% of the job is how you manage people, just like anything else. If you don't want to work for a micromanager, but you want to work for somebody that has your back, has your best interest in mind, is able to have tough conversations with you in a positive manner. I think that's what really matters.
Mike Fair on MLB Network Radio with us right now on John and Jim. It's interesting because you talked about, again, players that have had the success of Albert Pujols as a player. There's not a lot of examples of that type of caliber of a player becoming manager. Then again, there's not a lot of players that have had the success of Albert Pujols. What about pitching coaches that later become managers? I'm thinking about Buddy Black, John Farrell. There's not dozens and dozens of pitching coaches that have become managers. What's the track record suggest, or what are the challenges of moving over, 24 inches, so to speak, and going from pitching coach to manager?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the X's and O's part, right? That's what people, especially managing offensive decisions, right? That's where the difference is. I don't really think it's that hard to manage that at this point. I think you understand what the game calls for in most given situations. You view it from the pitching side. How that's going to play out. Not to mention, I just think there is better information available for every manager than there was, say 50 years ago. Now, I know it wasn't a pitching coach, but Sparky Anderson earned the nickname Captain Hook because he was into his bullpen early with starters, right? Sparky Anderson understood the third time through the order penalty. He just didn't have the stats to back it up, right? And so I think once you have more information, I don't want to say it makes the job easier, but it certainly points you in the right direction of the decisions. So to me, it's keeping the group together, making sure that everybody's pulling on the same end of the rope, and building relationships. And the good news is, if you're a pitching coach like Ruben Niebla, you already have relationships with all the pitchers and the catchers, right? And so, and listen, he's been there long enough that I guarantee he's got a relationship with Manny Machado. He's got one with Fernando Tatis Jr. He has one with Xander Bogaerts. He has one with Jake Cronenworth, right? He's got the core guys that he knows, and you just take another step forward in that. And I don't think he would change much in terms of personality.
What do you make of what the Giants did today with Tony Vitello?
It is the single most fascinating decision I mean decision that I have seen a club make in 25 years of covering Major League Baseball.
Wow.
I am absolutely fascinated. I mean, my other job is covering college baseball. And so I have covered a lot of Tony V. And Tony Vitello is an extremely energetic coach with a great background. He's been an assistant to some of the top college coaches in the country. He is the son of a really, really prominent high school baseball and soccer coach in St. Louis. Coaching and baseball is in his blood. But this is unprecedented. We have never seen a coach who had no professional experience, not just as a coach's manager, but as a player either, that has gone from the college ranks directly to the big leagues. Even the ones we have seen who have had experience, Pat Murphy obviously managed in the Padres system for close to 10 years before he was the interim manager there, and then was a bench coach again under Craig Counsell before he got the manager job. When Dick Hauser got the Yankees job in 1980, he had spent a year at Florida State. He spent the 8 previous seasons as the third base coach for the Yankees, and he played 8 years in the big leagues. Bobby Winkles went from ASU to the Angels in 1972 as a coach, and then took over as their manager in 73. Even Branch Rickey, when he left University of Michigan in 1913 to take over the Cardinals, had played 8 years in the big leagues, right? So, this is just not something that we have seen before. I have so many questions that I don't think are going to be answered until we see it go. But he is very charismatic. He's very smart. I hope that it works, but this is the kind of big swing that it really helps if you own a portion of the team and you're running baseball operations to be able to take this kind of swing. Because I think Buster Posey is going to be okay if he doesn't get it right. Yeah. But you're putting a lot into, I would say it's risky, right? It is a risky decision, but I am really interested to see how this plays out in so many ways.
Mike, before you go, is there a world in which, and you've told us before that the variance in baseball, right? It's not the NFL where the best team beats the worst team, or the NBA in a 7-game series, but do you see a scenario where Toronto is able to do this, or how much of a long shot is it for Toronto?
The odds on it sound like they're similar to what it was in 2019,
right,
when the Astros were prohibitive favorites and then lost in 7 games to the Nationals. So, I think there's a path. Absolutely. I think that there are similarities between what the Blue Jays do well and what the Brewers did well. And I know that the Brewers offense wasn't very good against the Dodgers. They control the strike zone very well. The thing that Toronto does better is they do it by hitting for power. And they're not that dissimilar from the Astros teams of 2017, 2018, 2019. Now, they're not banging on a trash can to get the signs, as far as we know. But they do make good swing decisions. They put the ball in play, and they put the ball in play hard. And so I think they're going to be a tougher test for the Dodgers pitching staff. The Dodgers bullpen is still the Dodgers bullpen. And while they don't necessarily have absolute monsters on the mound, they do have a pretty good rotation and a bullpen that I think has been better than what people realize. I believe it's been since September 1st that they haven't lost a game in which they've had a lead, or at least hadn't until Game 5 of the ALCS. So that Christian pitching pretty well overall. So, I think there's a chance. I think the series definitely makes its way back to Toronto for a Game 6 and potentially a Game 7. I think the Dodgers are still the favorites, but I absolutely can see a path where Toronto doesn't just make it interesting, but ends up winning the World Series.
Final one, Mike. That was the greatest game you've ever seen from Ohtani, right? The best game you've ever seen any player?
I mean, how many high school guys have 10 strikeout, 3 homer games?
Not a lot.
I don't think that this. I was working with Lance Lynn this week, and I was like, "You never ran a high school game like that." He said, "Hey, I punched out 10 and over twice. 3 homers, that's What he did was insane, and then factor in the fact that they won the pennant on top of it, right? It's just, I mean, we may never see another performance like that again. The only thing I can think that comes close to that performance that he put up was when he, hit 50 and stole his 50th base in the same game and did 3 homers and knocked in 10 against Miami last year. That guy's, he's different, and man, are we fortunate to get to see him.
Yeah, not as fortunate
Maybe
in
not
San
here in
Diego,
San Diego,
the point's a valid one. Mike, we appreciate chopping on. Enjoy the World Series. Thanks for taking time for it.
All right, yeah. So hopefully Shohei doesn't have a good World Series, because then maybe the Dodgers will lose. But my guess is the first time he's at the plate, Fox will glaze the hell out of him. And of course, Joe Davis is calling the World Series. So Joe Davis is just ready to have the most obnoxious Shohei Ohtani call ready in his back pocket. All right, coming up next, San Diego State this weekend, tomorrow actually, against Fresno State. Massive, massive game. We'll talk about that coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back here on John and Jim. Huge weekend here, just in San Diego specifically. Starts tomorrow afternoon with San Diego State and Fresno State. And then Sunday nights, we have STFC against the Portland Timbers, game 1 of the postseason. First ever playoff game for STFC, obviously. Snapdragon Stadium, going to be a sellout. We'll get into that a little bit next hour because Chucky Lozano was a pretty big question mark for this club. Was he going to play? Was he not going to play? And he released a statement today. So I'll read that later next hour. We'll go over that just a little bit. But tomorrow afternoon, I'm looking at this game here, Brent. The line opened up at San Diego State -2.5. It's now gone up to -3.5 San Diego State.
Nice.
So San Diego State's favored by 3.5 points here. They've been playing some really good football. I don't need to tell you that. If you watch the games, their offense is clicking. Their defense is one of the best defenses in college football. They've allowed 73 points on the year. That's incredible. I do think that the 12:30 start time could play a little role into tomorrow's game just because it's going to be hot. Also, it's a rivalry game. And Fresno State, I'm going to just assume that they're going to be up for the game as well. But the good thing is, I think the way the Aztecs have approached this is they're going to be up for this game as well, too. How Sean Lewis is not even saying the name Fresno State. I kind of actually love it. Like, let's build this thing up. Let's make this like a true rivalry, even though it technically is. The old oil cans up for grabs. But I want this to be for years and years. Every time you see every time you see the Aztec schedule, you look to see when they're playing Fresno State. Like, when are they playing Fresno State? And that's because it's such a big rivalry. And that's what makes college sports and college football so great is rivalries. And, to make sure that this one becomes one of the better rivalries that, we see, especially in the new Pac-12, like, I'm all for it.
74 and partly sunny tomorrow.
That's great.
Weather, it shouldn't be too hot.
No.
And I think the time would have been a bigger factor if, like,
East Coast.
Yeah, or if they would have even had to go just change time zones just in general. But, just going up to Fresno, what is that for a flight? Like a 3-hour flight, if even that?
It's not 3. It's my guess that it's less than 2.
No, so it's short. So I don't think that's going to have that big of an effect. But, to paraphrase Sean Lewis said on the Coaches Show this week that, marching bands and rivalries are like the two best things about college football.
Yep. And there's
and he's leaning into it. And I like that.
I like it too.
Because, when Brady was here and even when Rocky was here, they would have rivalry games, but they didn't like make a big deal out of it.
It didn't.
All week.
Right. It didn't feel like the week leading up to the game was a big deal.
Yeah, and Sean Lewis, just by not even mentioning them by name this week, he's setting it up and he's getting the mentality in the kids' heads that these are our rivals. This is how we should look at them. Don't look at them like just some other team because they're not. This is our rival. This
100%.
is you have to look at them differently.
100%, and I love that about this week leading up to tomorrow's game in the afternoon. 12:30 kickoff. Our pregame coverage starts at 10:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Also, I want to talk about, because we're running up against it. I'll talk about it next segment, but there was a viral thing that went viral this morning with John Gruden. I don't know if you've seen this, Brent, because you don't have social media, but John Gruden, he gets sent by college teams like big boxes of like gear.
Yeah.
And it helps promote the brand, right? Well, San Diego State sent John Gruden a giant box of gear. I want to talk about that coming up next. Also, Chucky Lozano, we have an update on him. All that coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by California Secretary of State. Game 1 of the World Series is tonight at 5 o'clock up in Toronto. It's going to be Blake Snell going against Trey Yesovich. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow afternoon to take on Fresno State for the Old Oil Can. Our pregame coverage starts with Fletch and JR at 10:30. John and Rich will have the kick around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Our pre-match coverage starts at 6 o'clock right here on your home for San Diego FC. And tonight, the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Our pregame coverage starts at 6:45. The tip-off will be around 7 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. In California, voting is easy. Drop your ballot in a secure drop box, vote early in person, or mail it. Don't delay, vote today. Get more information at sos.ca.gov. A message from the California Secretary of State.
Eric Rubner can do everything from a marketing perspective and resources perspective and money. I just don't get why the CFO, a chief financial officer, would have any involvement in who manages the ball club.
Because he has equity in the team, because he wants control, because he wants power.
But does that make sense to you?
No.
Now, live from the San Diego Sports 760 studios, it's John and Jim.
All right, hour 2 of John and Jim on a Friday. John's on his way to Fresno for Fresno State and San Diego State tomorrow afternoon. And then we have SDFC against the Portland Timbers, game 1 on Sunday night here at Snapdragon Stadium. And one of the biggest questions surrounding, oh, by the way, didn't even mention this, should absolutely mention it, but Yeppe Treveskov, the captain of SDFC, signed a contract extension today through 2027. I'm clapping. So that's amazing. Keep the captain in town, keep Yeppe here, signed into a contract extension. That's awesome. But one of the biggest questions surrounding this club was, and is, I guess it was, because of what Chucky said today, but it was the availability of Chucky Lozano for SDFC for their postseason run. And he went to social media on Instagram and posted this. I'm a passionate and competitive person who always wants to give everything for the team. Sometimes that same intensity can lead to reactions that don't reflect who I am or the respect I have for everyone around me. I didn't react in the right way, and I've already taken responsibility, addressed it, and moved forward. What matters most to me is continuing to grow as a player, as a teammate, and as a person. Every day, I'm learning, improving, and doing my best to contribute positively to the team. I'm fully focused on what's ahead, on the goals we share, and on helping San Diego achieve everything we've been working for. We've built something special together, and I'm proud to be part of the club's journey for many years to come. I think that's all positive there, because the question was like, can they win an MLS Cup without Chucky Lozano? Was this going to turn into drama, and more importantly, unnecessary drama leading into their first postseason series in club history? And thankfully, it looks like the drama that could have been bad, it could have turned into a really ugly situation, looks like it's behind them. And today at media availability, do we have this, Brent? Let me know when you have it. Mikey Varas, the team's head coach, talked about, this statement and the availability of Chucky Lozano heading into the postseason.
We don't know. We'll make that decision like we do with all players at the end of the week.
Can you confirm the Athletics report that it was because of a verbal altercation that stepped them out of the game?
Like I said, we had a situation that we're handling internally. At the end of the day, Irving is fully integrated in the team, in the training. He's laughing. He's working hard. He's 100% committed to making his way back into the group, and we're 100% committed to supporting him in his way back into the group. And we'll just take it day by day and make that decision when it needs to be made.
Okay, so I think that's good there. They're keeping it in-house as they should. And the biggest thing there is he said that he's 100% committed to making his way back into the group, and we're 100% committed to supporting him. So, what happened with him being upset with the club, could have turned ugly. And I said the other day, like, of course, it's such a San Diego thing. The team is amazing. They're the number 1 seed. And then you have this rogue player making it about himself and potentially undermining all the great things that this team potentially could do. But it looks like that's not going to be the case. It shouldn't be the case because this team has something. This team has the opportunity to do something really special here. And the last thing you want is one of your star players being upset and causing problems and causing issues. Now, I've said this a lot. This is something that I've linked to the Padres a lot. And it's a term that's always used in sports, but you have to have everybody pulling on the same rope. If you don't have everybody pulling on the same rope, you're not going to win. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You need to have everybody sacrificing. You need to have everybody on the same page. This is about the team. This is not about Chucky. It's not about any one individual player. Everybody has to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. And look, if that means that you're not going to get a lot of playing time, well, guess what? You have to do that for the team. I'm not saying that Chucky's not going to get a lot of playing time. I'm just using that as an example. Right? If you got to come off the bench, come off the bench. Right? Do whatever is asked of you to win. It's all about the team. And it thankfully looks like, they had a little speed bump here, and Chucky this morning putting that on social media, relaying that he is 100% committed and this is about the team. And so that's all good news. It's all good news. I expect Chucky to be out there for SDFC. In what capacity? As of right now, don't know. But I trust this team to get it right. I trust this team to have everybody be on the same page. And look, if you have somebody that's not on the same page, then that player's probably not going to be involved in this playoff run. Like, they're just not going to deal with it. I wouldn't want to deal with it either. So as I was saying last hour, that John Gruden this morning on social media, and I was like, I didn't do a double take. I'm like, why is San Diego State football retweeting John Gruden? Like, what? So if you don't know, John Gruden is a part of Barstool Sports now. And being a part of Barstool Sports is heavily involved into college athletics, especially college football. They have like a college football show every single week. They go on the road. They have like their own little game day. And John Gruden is a massive personality. I don't know how it started, but teams and programs just started sending John Gruden like gear, like shirts and shorts and sweatshirts, like big boxes of gear, mainly to promote their program.
Yeah.
And so I saw this morning, and it's like a 10-minute video. It is like the most John Gruden thing ever. First, it takes him like 4 minutes to open the box because his knife is dull. And John Gruden can talk. And I showed Brent, I showed Brent a little bit of the video. He's just like ripping off random names that I'm like, wait, did that person go to San Diego State? Like,
yeah, he was totally channeling his inner Ted.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Some of the old school names he was pulling out.
But anyway, long story short here, John Gruden gets gifted by San Diego State a giant box of goodies. I'm extremely jealous. I know John would be extremely jealous. And he got an Aztec helmet. He got like every Aztec shirt you could imagine, sweatshirts, shorts, joggers. He got like special Nike Aztec gloves. He got a special custom Letterman jacket that has his name on it, Coach Gruden, and it has Aztec Link, the logo on the side there. And then he got a personalized letter from Coach Lewis. And I just think, one, that's awesome. And two, it's like what you need to do in the landscape of college athletics now is make your brand awareness as big as possible by any means necessary. And using John Gruden as like a conduit to expand your brand, I thought that was one of the coolest things that the program could do. And I think Sean Lewis is doing everything right. It didn't work in year one on the field, but I think off the field, he was doing everything possible to gain awareness for the program, to grow the program. And this is just another example of like how to grow the program. I mean, I'm looking at the John Gruden thing here. He wrote, this is funny. He wrote, all the way from San Diego, California, it's the Aztecs of SDSU. San Diego State has some of my favorite alums of all time. I thought this was funny. And I absolutely love this mascot and color scheme. I don't really have a mascot. Thank you, Coach Lewis and Aztec Football, for sending this incredible box. Go Aztecs. It has over 50,000 views. John Gruden has almost 350,000 followers. And San Diego State retweeted it. It's cool. I thought it was a cool thing for them to do.
Maybe I should ask JD tomorrow on pregame. Did the John and Jim box get lost in the mail?
The John and Jim box definitely got lost in the mail. If we got this box, Brent, I wouldn't have to buy clothes for like.
Oh yeah,
I would just wear this.
Oh yeah, there's tons of cool stuff in there.
It was like he got a Letterman's jacket. They've sent him like a charger, like a San Diego State charger, for your phone.
Oh, okay.
They sent him like socks and shorts and just every shirt possible. It's such a funny video too, because it's literally 10 minutes long. And the first 4 minutes, he can't open the box. like he can't open this box. It takes him forever to open the box. But it's worth it. And it's a goodie box that any Aztec fan would absolutely love.
Oh yeah, dude, just the helmet alone.
I know, just
awesome because they have like the best, or one of the best helmets in all of like just football.
Oh yeah,
Aztec
college
calendar
football
on it,
Aztec calendar, and so it's a cool video. I suggest that if you're an Aztec fan, you go search this video out and watch it. It's 10 minutes long, but it's absolutely hilarious, and it'll make you jealous because of all the gear that John Gruden gets. But it's a great way to promote the program, and they're doing it right. And now they're adding them winning on the field to this. They're doing it right, and this program is going in the right direction. Absolutely. Speaking of the Aztecs, coming up next, we're going to get you ready for San Diego State and Fresno State tomorrow. Stay right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we talked to Fresno State play-by-play man Paul Loeffler yesterday afternoon to get us ready for San Diego State and Fresno State. If you missed that conversation, we're going to bring that back for you right now. We started our conversation with the expectations for the game tomorrow afternoon.
Well, hopefully it looks not too hot because it's a 12:30 kickoff, and hopefully no rain. But I know one thing that will be happening is they're going to be blackout jerseys, so they're kind of stealing the Aztecs colors, if you will. But this is huge. I mean, pivotal for both squads. What a key cog in the race to potentially a Mountain West title appearance for one of these two schools.
So coming off a bye week, previously Fresno State, did not play well against Colorado State. What happened in that game? And going into this bye week now for Fresno State, it just felt like Fresno State was one of the teams to look at in the Mountain West Conference, and they put up a clunker against Colorado State.
And that's being kind, to call it a clunker. They didn't show up, right? I mean, I think you can make excuses. You can say, hey, it was a short week on a Friday night. It was their first altitude game with a new staff and a lot of players who haven't been a part of that. But the offense didn't show up. The defense didn't show up. There were some curious coaching decisions. It didn't go the way they planned. So they have a lot to answer the bell for against the Aztecs.
Paul Loeffler with us right now. He calls games for the Fresno State Bulldogs. Tell us about the quarterback, E.J. Warner, the son of the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. I want to say the FBS active leader in career passing yards. You look at his numbers this year, it looks like he's completing a high percentage of his passes, but he's also thrown 9 interceptions. So what's gone well and what hasn't for E.J. Warner?
When it's gone well, it's gone really well. When it's not gone well, it's really not gone well. The interceptions have kind of come in bunches. He had a real clean stretch there during the 5-game win streak where he was starting to play really well. And I think what really stood out was how he came through with the game on the line. If you look at their wins at Oregon State and Hawaii, 2 road wins that could have easily gone the other way, he made plays late to help secure those wins. And against Nevada, when they got out to a 20-3 lead, saw that lead all but evaporate at the end of the game, trying to put it away. He's facing a 3rd and 11, or they're going to give Nevada the ball back with a chance to win it. And he's able to scramble for 11 yards on 3rd and long, pick up the first down. They end up running out the clock with basically a 9-minute drive. And, he did exactly what was needed in the situation. So I think what stands out is that he's been able to rise to the occasion in the biggest moments and make big plays when they've had close games. The 2 losses have been games where they got down early, were never really seriously in contention for a victory. So, what are we going to see against the Aztecs? Does Fresno State get off to a good start? Does EJ have the opportunity to make those kind of game-winning plays? We'll see. And the other thing is, if he can't stretch the field, then defenses have been really aggressive against the run game. I think that's been the common denominator of late. That, they've sent a lot of people into the backfield. There have been some blocking issues. Fresno State's rotated a lot of backs. Several guys have been effective in spurts, but we haven't seen a consistent run game that you can really count on for a while.
What do you make of what San Diego State is doing right now? 5-1 on the year. Their offense, Aztec fast is the motto here in San Diego. Their defense especially has been fantastic. What stood out with you so far for the Aztecs this year?
Well, I'm not surprised by the defense because that's been such a hallmark of the program. I know it's a new coach, and I was impressed talking to Coach Lewis at Media Days this year. He believes in what he does. He's been able to recruit to the system. The defense hasn't surprised me. What's really, I think, surprised me, probably a lot of Aztec fans too, is the explosive ability of this offense. Because I think it's been quite a while since, Aztec fans have seen that. I mean, there have been some great rushers over the years, right? Some phenomenal backs, and you know them all. But we haven't seen the potency in the pass game, I think, for a while. And you certainly haven't seen the dual threat at quarterback the way Aztec fans are enjoying it right now. So I think this is a tougher team to deal with, a more versatile team to deal with. It's a rivalry game with the trophy on the line. And in my mind, who gets off to a better start is going to make a big difference because the Aztecs have proven they can win in a multitude of ways. We've seen the blowout victories, and they grind one out against the Huskies of Northern Illinois. It's a team that has a lot of momentum right now, more than Fresno State has, certainly. The Dogs felt like they had some momentum going, but that Colorado State game was an aberration. At least they hope so. So coming off the bye week, how are they feeling? Are they healthy? Can the defense get back to what the defense was doing before that Colorado State game? You look at the 2 games before that, Fresno State took the ball away 4 times in each of those wins. In the Colorado State game, they gave it away 4 times. And you know how the math works with that. I mean, that's a big difference. So I think that's going to be another thing is who's winning that turnover battle on Saturday? What's the team that can create extra opportunities by taking the ball away? And Fresno State, for the most part this year, has done a really good job of that. They've just been a little too generous in giving it away as well.
Paul Loeffler again will be on the call for Fresno State. Aztecs and Bulldogs coming up on Saturday at 12:30. How much of a factor is just playing at home for Fresno State in general? I mean, it matters for everyone in college football, but how much of a factor is it for Fresno?
Well, I think it matters a lot for Fresno State, and they haven't lost at home this year. You look at the last 2 seasons, and Fresno State led the nation outside of the power conferences in attendance. So the red wave, as the fan base is called here, has been a big factor in creating a hostile environment. You know, with the earlier kickoff, we'll see, but this has a chance to be the first sellout of the season. And it's also coinciding with Jeff Tedford being inducted into Fresno State's Ring of Honor. So his name will go up on the wall with guys like Jim Sweeney and Pat Hill and the Carr brothers, Trent Dilfer, Henry Ellard, some all-time greats. And, you know, I think that's kind of fitting that it's the Aztecs because there were some pretty memorable battles when Coach Tedford was the head coach against San Diego State, including that comeback that's still kind of hard for me to believe it took place in 2022. Yeah, right?
That thing was insane.
Yeah, it was
I was, as you know, Paul, I wasn't there, but in watching, that game flipped on a muffed punt return, right? That's how I remember it.
Well, that was there was a factor there, but then, you know, at the end, Fresno State scored 15 points in 13 seconds.
Yeah, I remember the onside kick, but even before that game was sealed. I'm telling you, we have to watch it back.
Yeah.
If not, I forget.
I think you're right.
That punt, I'm saying that punt return because Fresno State came up with it maybe deep in San Diego State's end, like inside the 10-yard line, punched it in. I'm making it up and made like a 19-point game, a 12-point game, or like a 22-point game, a 15-point game. And it gave Fresno State the momentum that they would need there down the stretch. That was a wild, wild game. Paul, appreciate you taking time for us here in San Diego. I will see you on Saturday, and thanks for joining us here in San Diego.
Let me know if you want raisins, almonds, dried apricots. I mean, we grow it all up here in the Great Milwaukee Valley.
You're speaking his language right now.
I'm Mr. like whatever is like vegan.
Yeah, give him some dried
raisins,
apricots.
Dried apricots. Are you serious? No, not too much. That can hurt your stomach. But
my gosh,
I'm down. Thanks, Paul.
Not just any dried apricots, like the best dried apricots in the history of the world.
Let's go.
So I'll let you be the judge on Saturday.
I need them all. Thank you, Paul. I'm looking for.
Too much dried apricots is going to hurt my tummy. How does John survive? I don't get it. I just don't. All right, coming up later this hour, we're going to give away some tickets to Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego. Also, Greg Camarillo is going to join me at 4:30. We also have the wrap to get to. All that coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by the California Secretary of State. We're about 90 minutes away from Game 1 of the World Series tonight in Toronto against the Dodgers and Blue Jays. It's going to be Blake Snell going on the hill for the Dodgers and Trey Yesovich going for the Blue Jays. Tomorrow afternoon, the Aztecs are on the road to take on Fresno State for the Old Oil Can. Our pregame coverage with JR and Fletch starts right here at 10:30, and John and Rich will have the kickoff around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Our coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock on your home for San Diego FC. And later tonight, the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:45. You can hear that right here on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. In California, voting is easy. Drop your ballot in a secure drop box, vote early in person, or mail it. Don't delay, vote today. Get more information at sos.ca.gov. A message from the California Secretary of State.
All right, SDFC's first playoff game is Sunday night against the Portland Timbers. Our pregame coverage begins at 6 p.m. right here on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. And the GM of SDFC, Tyler Heaps, joined us earlier in the week. Great to catch up with him and getting ready for the first playoff match on Sunday for SDFC. We started our conversation with Tyler Heaps earlier in the week with, could you have guessed this level of success in year number 1?
Hey guys, thanks for having me again. Always a pleasure to be on. That was not at the top of my mind at that time. I think we had 3 players signed whenever I officially started. I was working behind the scenes and for about 12 months before that with Right to Dream and with the group. But never once did I think, hey, let's go win the Western Conference. That would have been very ambitious and bold of me. I was just trying to figure out how do we get this thing off the ground and start building the pieces to hopefully eventually do this and do it consistently. It's just the success has come really quickly, and that's a credit to everybody in the organization and how much work has went into it these past 10 months.
So this past Saturday night, you needed a couple things to happen in your favor to get the 1 seed. Did you have like the double box up and like watching obviously what's going on with Vancouver and Dallas, and then what's happening in front of you with Portland and San Diego? What was that experience like for you to watch the game in front of you with SDFC, and then watching to see if you can get other results to get the 1 seed, clinched up for the Western Conference?
Yeah, I was fortunate I was out of the rain, so I could have a phone and a computer next to me. I had my assistant sporting director sat next to me, and we had the live alerts on, so we saw when they got a red card, and we were still focused on our game. And the second half made it a little bit easier to start to focus on the other results because of the way that we were playing and the fact that we put our game to bed really, really quickly in the second half. And so, yeah, all kind of the stars aligned. It was a special moment for the club, for the city. It was great that we had so many traveling supporters there too. And then that moment on the field after is one I'll probably remember for a long time. But just getting to celebrate with those guys in the pouring rain, again, credit to them. They put so much work into this. And the fact is that everything kind of aligned for us on the last day. And it's a fantastic end of the regular season. And now it's kind of like, now what? What can we do now in the playoffs? And how do we continue to build this season and make it a special one?
Tyler Heaps, SDFC's general manager, with us right now on John and Jim. I'm glad you went there with the postseason. And maybe this is a dumb question, but in a lot of other professional sports in the U.S., things change in the postseason. Like we'll say in the NBA, this team was the 2 seed all year, but they're not a good matchup for the 7 seed because Golden State's a veteran team. And even though they're the 7 seed, it's going to be tough for the 2 seed. Or in baseball, right? This team's a good matchup or a bad matchup. For your club, now that you're in as the 1 seed, does anything change in terms of putting you in a position to have the same success you just had in the regular season?
I think it's the same in soccer. It's probably more so. The matchups do matter. Right. What we've proven is that we're going to be who we are no matter what. And I think that's our super strength. I think Mikey said that in the post-match, but that is our strength, is that no matter who we play, where we play, we're going to play the same way. That's not the case for everybody in this league. And so I have no doubt in my mind people will try to play us differently. They try to do it during the regular season. I think a lot of teams will sit in. It's why we've struggled to come away with wins at Snapdragon, although the performances have been really good. But teams come here and set up shop and say, okay, good luck beating us. We're going to waste time and we're going to try to chop the game up. And because that's the way that we think we have the best chance. The first round goes straight to penalties after 90 minutes. So I definitely think there's going to be teams that have that on their mind. And so we need to do what we did in this last. We need to score early on teams. That changes the game picture for us massively. Whenever we score early on teams, they can't waste time anymore, and they have to come out a little bit. And whenever teams come out on us, I think we can kill them, and we proved it again in Portland away. So just trying to keep that rhythm, but our approach will be the exact same. But there are matchup issues or problems. I think I'm looking forward to seeing who wins on Wednesday night and who we get on Sunday, but we'll be ready in whatever team that we do face, and just for us about doing what we do and do it at a high level.
What could you say about Mikey Varas and the job that he's done here in year one as the manager of this club?
I mean, he's been incredible. Similar to I probably could have never guessed that he would have been this good. I got excited every single time I had a chance to talk to him in the interview process. I think you guys hear how he approaches his media and some of the segments that he does in our social with how he's speaking to the team before or after the game. But he's got a really, really special quality of being able to connect with players in this city, in this community. And he's a fantastic coach. I also think that we've built a really special group of coaches around him. And that was something that him and I did together when we built out his staff. And that really helped our relationship. And we have an unbelievable working relationship. We kind of know what each other are going to say before we even have to talk to each other. And that's been really good to be able to check and challenge each other, because the end of the day, we're both in this for the first time together. I'd never been a sporting director before, and he'd never been a head coach. And I think in this league, and I think that scared some people, but I think what we've proven is that whenever you have a way of doing things and whenever you're confident in each other, great things can happen.
Tyler Heaps, general manager of SDFC, with us right now on John and Jim. Again, the postseason opener is going to be Sunday night, Snapdragon Stadium, opponent TBD, but a 6:30 kickoff for that postseason opener for SDFC. You mentioned the format, the fact that after 90 minutes in the first round, you go right to penalty kicks. This is a best of 3 opening round as well. What do you make of the format? Do you like the format? Would you prefer it look different? What do you make of it?
This is the first time I've been in this league, and I've watched MLS and followed MLS from afar for a long time. It's a bit confusing at first. I think it makes sense. I get both sides of it. Everybody that gets in the playoffs gets a home game. And I think that is important for these clubs. And as we continue to try to build this sport in this country, is to make sure that each home market gets a chance to see their team in a playoff structure. And I think it lends well to us. These single eliminations, not always the best team advances. So I do think a best of 3, it allows hopefully the best teams to try to grind their way out of it. Although, again, game by game, it can differ. And then it goes single elimination after that, and anything can happen. That's why I think in America we love this sport, and just making sure that we give ourselves the best chances to win. And we got to try to control what we can control and leave as little doubt as possible. The way we play, we should be able to control a lot of these games. It's just about taking our chances and taking them often.
Anders Dreyer's had a fantastic year. 2 more goals this past weekend against Portland. He's played every match for you guys, 19 goals on the year. He's going to be in the MVP discussion this season. He has just been the backbone of your club.
Yeah, he's a tremendous person, and he's an unbelievable competitor. And I think we've put him in positions, and he's taken those every step of the way. The fact that he has been available for all 34 games. He came over without getting an off season too. That's what people don't realize, is that our schedule's different than Europe, and he'd already played 6 months of his season. And so he's going on 18 months here straight. And the fact is, he still shows up day in and day out and trains hard and is a huge proponent of our group. And then he scores world-class goals like he did on Saturday. And so we need him, and he understands too that we in the way that we play make him better together. And I think he's got 38 goal contributions. So if we can get him over 40 in the playoffs and continue to push forward, but he's been a huge addition, not only on the field but also off the field. And we're looking forward to seeing how he can perform in the playoffs.
Tyler, final one for me is just about the support from the fan base in San Diego in year one, and what that's meant to the club and the organization, and what you'd want people to know about the importance of what's to come, obviously Sunday night and beyond.
It's incredible. I was fortunate before I signed. I got to go to a couple of Padres games last year, and I could see how much this city does show up for their sports teams. And I was one of those ones going to those early supporter-led meetups, and there were 10 of them there. So the fact is, whenever you get to Portland and you hear them chanting 90 minutes before the game, and we have one individual who's traveled to every single away game, and we gifted him a signed jersey on our team walk. Like, it's a huge sacrifice, and these guys use their hard-earned money to go and support us and travel around and come to the games and Snapdragon. And it's massive. I was a sports fan one day too, and I loved my hometown teams. And so the fact is now that we can kind of give back, and we're going to need every single one of them. I think the atmosphere is going to be electric on Sunday. I saw some of the videos of the fans celebrating in the streets and down in Chula Vista at the watch parties, and I'm really excited to get out there on Sunday and put together a really good performance and have this group behind us come the playoff time.
Congratulations on all the success to this point. Hopefully it continues, obviously, over the next month or so in the MLS postseason, which will get underway in San Diego Sunday night at 6:30. And if you're looking for tickets, you can find them, limited tickets at least, at sandiegofc.com. Tyler Heaps, GM of SDFC. Tyler, congratulations, and thanks as always for taking time for us.
Thanks, Tyler.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Again, SDFC Portland, Sunday night, 6:30 kickoff. You can listen to the match right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, coming up next, we'll get you ready for game one of the World Series. Also, we have the wrap next hour, and Greg Camarillo, our NFL insider, joining me at 4:30. Stay right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
Hey guys, it's Schaefer again, and there is no better time than now to get down to your local Toyota dealer with new vehicles arriving daily, including their most popular cars, trucks, and SUVs. We'll get back to the trucks in a moment, but whatever kind of vehicle you're looking for, hurry into your Toyota dealer today because it is Trucktober at your Toyota dealer. The best time to get into a new Toyota truck. They've got the largest inventory of Tacomas and Tundras ready to roll. The Tacoma is known for its legendary toughness, off-road capability, and everyday efficiency, perfect for weekend adventures or just tackling your to-do list. And the Tundra brings serious power, impressive towing capacity, and bold design, plus the latest tech and comfort features. Whether you need a truck that's built for the trails, built for work, or built for your family's next adventure, Toyota's got you covered this Trucktober. We make it easy. See your Toyota dealer today.
All right, so game 1 of the World Series, first pitch 5 p.m. Pacific in Toronto. Blake Snell's on the mound for the Dodgers. You have Trey Savage on the mound for the Blue Jays. Dodgers are the favorites in this series. And look, we all know it's inevitable that they're going to win, right? Colin had a take this morning that you just have to listen to it, and I want to react to it on the other side here. But here was Colin's take if the Dodgers end up winning the World Series again.
And the Dodgers are historic. They are tied for the most World Series appearances, 5, by any National League team ever in a 9-year span. They are in the playoffs now, 13 straight years. That's one shy of a baseball record. The only team in baseball history to have MVPs batting 1, 2, 3 in the everyday lineup: Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. So I said, as the World Series starts tonight, if the Dodgers win this series, number one, they're officially a dynasty. And number two, I'd argue they're the greatest team, most talented team ever. You say, Colin, what about the regular season? Folks, they don't care about it. They're going to make the playoffs. They overwhelm you with talent. What they do with the Dodgers, if you get injured during the season, they don't risk it. There is no rush back. They'll push you to September. And the Dodgers treat their players and stars like a great teacher treats her students. They're not going to hound you on attendance. Be great on the final. And that's how the Dodgers look at it. And this is a new phenomenon, by the way. The Dodgers have to win 4 series to be World Series champs. Mickey Mantle had to win 4 games. So I have no problem saying the accomplishment is really impressive. The Phillies are stacked. The Blue Jays are stacked. The Brewers were unbelievable. Even the low-budget Reds have a superstar player. So I'm not taking anything away from Cal Ripken and the Iron Man streak, but it's almost like work smarter, not harder. You know, Ripken's got 1 World Series title. If you ask most kids today and most, psychologists, they're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't work 80 hours a week. You should have a life, right? But baseball used to take great pride in you play through an injury. That's not smart. That's not what the Dodgers do. The Dodgers are, you're banged up. We'll see you September 23rd. And what they've assembled here, it's just really unique. I mean, they're a little like Kevin Spacey and Usual Suspects. They're limping around, not a threat. Then you look up and you're like, oh, wait, they're the mastermind of the whole sport. Here's a team that had no bullpen nightmares. Now you're like, can't string together hits, right? Against the back end. So, I mean, we looked at the Dodgers one way in the regular season, and all of a sudden you look at them now and you're like, they're dominating Milwaukee. They blow past Philadelphia.
Okay, so best team of all time. Yeah, slow your roll there, buddy. Get off your knees. Here's a tissue. Wipe your mouth off. Calm down. Are they a really good team? Absolutely. Are they on the verge of becoming a dynasty? Probably, yeah. Do they have the best player in the sport in Shohei Ohtani? They do. But, I mean, the 1998 Yankees would like to talk. The 2004 Red Sox would like to talk. Like, you want to call this the greatest team of all time if they win the World Series again. Go for it. Glaze them up, Colin. They're no doubt a great team. Greatest team of all time? No. Regular season matters, buddy. It absolutely does. Without the regular season, we don't get to this point. Okay? I know you don't watch baseball. You have made that very abundantly clear. You don't watch any baseball. The only time you watch baseball is during the postseason, and that completely jades your perception of the sport. If you didn't watch a single regular season game this year, Brent, and the first time you started watching baseball was in the postseason, then yeah, you'd probably think the Dodgers are the greatest team ever.
Colin's going to think that anyways. Even if the Blue Jays win, he's still going to come out and be like, oh, well, the Dodgers are the greatest team to ever lose a World Series.
The Blue Jays didn't win the World Series. The Dodgers, they lost it. But in reality, the Dodgers actually won because they have Shohei Ohtani.
Exactly.
Man. his takes lately, just insane. I'm not saying this is an insane take. It's not like the craziest take he's ever had. I'm just saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, you might want to stay in your lane here, Colin. I know you want to glaze up the Dodgers because it's in LA. It's Shohei. You're distracted by the shiny object. You don't watch baseball. The Dodgers this year, frankly, if it wasn't for the Padres choking, they were going to be a wild card team. And they should have been a wild card team. I put more of the blame on the Padres than anything. But the regular season matters. The Dodgers are the 3 seed in the National League. Okay? They are a really good team. And they're probably going to win another World Series. But they're not in the great team category. I'm sorry. Sorry. That they're not. Like I said, you have to count the regular season. When you count the regular season, to me, and I think to a lot of people, the 1998 Yankees, 114 wins in the regular season, won the World Series, bunch of Hall of Famers on that team. Yeah, that's probably the best team of all time. Let's go to the phones. 877-767-4760. Larry wants to weigh in. Larry, what's up, man?
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hey, I heard that this morning with Coward, and I almost choked. He has his nose so far up the Dodgers' butt, and Spanos, too. And then he's talking about the Dodgers being the best team. If the Padres are Tatis and Manny would have played any ball in August and September, they wouldn't have had the home field advantage for the Reds, and they would have had to play some of the better teams on the road. You know what, Coward, open your eyes, man. You're a loser. Later, L.A. sucks. Beat L.A.
Thank you, Larry. Larry could not have said it any better there. Perfect call from Larry. Love it. Yeah, Colin is the ultimate prisoner of the moment. Like, he is king prisoner of the moment. And to say that about this Dodgers team is the ultimate prisoner of the moment. Because, look, the series hasn't even started yet. Now, I would take the Dodgers. But then Colin's take here, like you said, Brent, like it's going to turn into, I don't care that the Dodgers lost. This is still the greatest team ever.
Oh yeah. They could come out and lose games 1 and 2, and get outscored 25-2. And they got them right where they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Colin not knowing anything about baseball, trying to talk baseball. And in this case, it's like, hey man, stay in your lane. Talk about Aaron Rodgers because that's what you love to do. Talk about the NFL because that's all you know. Don't talk baseball. You can try to talk basketball, but the other day he was trying to say that the Warriors, after one game of the season, should trade Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, 4 first-round picks for Giannis. Man. Colin, yeah. He infuriates me. All right, coming up next, The Wrap. Also, Greg Camarillo is going to join me at 4:30. Stay right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples. We're about an hour away from Game 1 of the World Series in Toronto with the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. It's going to be Blake Snell going for the Dodgers and Trey Yesovich going for the Blue Jays. Tomorrow afternoon, the Aztecs are on the road to take on Fresno State for the Old Oil Can. Our pregame coverage with Fletch and JR starts at 10:30. John and Rich will have the kick around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Coverage begins right here at 6 o'clock on your home for San Diego FC. And tonight at 6:45, Luka and the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Pregame coverage starts, like I said, at 6:45. Tip is going to be slightly after 7 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends November 1st. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Eric Rubner can do everything from a marketing perspective and resources perspective and money. I just don't get why the CFO, a chief financial officer, would have any involvement in who manages the ball club.
Because he has equity in the team, because he wants control, because he wants power.
But does that make sense to you?
No. Now, live from the San Diego Sports 760 studios, it's John and Jim.
All right, hour 3 of John and Jim on a Friday. Me and Brent holding down the fort. John is on his way to Fresno State. Greg Camarillo is going to join me at 4:30. Also, this hour, we're going to give away tickets to Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego. So make sure you're listening this hour. We'll be giving away a pair of tickets to Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego. But right now, as we do every day at 4 p.m., Brent, let's get to it.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Is tomorrow a must-win game for the Aztecs?
It's a must-win game, I think, if they have any hope of making the college football playoff. But I think to really, set themselves up for a run at the Mountain West Conference Championship game, tomorrow is a big game. No doubt about it. Tomorrow. I'm choking over here. Sorry. I'm in my throat. Not good when you're on live radio. Tomorrow's a big game for the Aztecs. I think for their chances to win the Mountain West Conference, tomorrow feels like a must-win game. So there you have it. Our next question, Brent.
Is tonight a must-win game for the Lakers?
No, it's not. But look, they did not look good in their opener against the Warriors. The Warriors, I'm going to hold off on saying the Warriors are going to be a good team this year. Because last year they started out 9-3, and they ended up going 26-25 until they traded for Jimmy Butler. So they're like a 500 team. I'm going to wait and see on the Warriors. But the Lakers, look, I don't see it. I know it's been one game. I don't see it. Other than Luka will average 40, but team can't play defense. DeAndre Ayton, give me a break. Their role players stink. And if they don't have LeBron James, even if they do have LeBron James, they're not going to upgrade defensively. The pairing between him and Luka, still, I think that's yet to be determined. It's not a must-win game tomorrow for the Lakers, or tonight for the Lakers, but I don't see it right now with them. I really don't.
It's not a must-win, but they definitely have to look better. Austin Reeves, do something.
He played well in the second half yesterday, but at the same time, I don't know.
But without LeBron, he has to be their second scorer unless they expect Luka to score 60 points every game.
If they were smart, they would trade Austin Reeves and picks for better role players.
Yeah.
Because Austin Reeves, kind of does the same exact thing that Luka does, just not as good. And they need spot up shooters. They need better defense. They need better role players. That's what I would do. Because right now, DeAndre Ayton, he ain't it. The other players, they ain't it. Big game tonight for the Lakers. Next question.
Which sport is next for a betting scandal?
It's a good question. I think football is around the corner, potentially college football. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll go with something in college. I'll go with college football.
I'll say college basketball.
Yeah, I think it's something in college. But this thing ain't over yet. This is, the question the other day was, is this the tip of the iceberg or is this the iceberg? This is the tip. Pause. There's going to be way more betting scandals in the future. If you don't think so, you're naive. Everybody that is involved in something right now that saw what happened yesterday, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. So bring on all the betting scandals.
And I think we're going to see more names leak from that mob list of people that are blackmailing.
Kevin Garnett's a name that leaked
Yeah.
today as being involved in, I can't even talk, involved in the poker game. Next question, Brent.
Who's going to win the World Series?
I think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. Obviously, I want the Blue Jays, but I'll take Dodgers in 6. I know I said Dodgers in 5 the other day. I'll take Dodgers in 6, unfortunately. First pitch about an hour away in Toronto. But their starting pitching is just too good. The Dodgers starting pitching is just too good. And what Dave Roberts is going to do, which I don't blame him, I would do it too. I would do it if I was him, is last year he rode the bullpen. This year, he's going to ride the starters. Blake Snell's not a guy that normally goes out and gives you 7-8 innings consistently. But if his pitch count is low in game 1 tonight, Dave's going to let him go out there and try to get through 7, try to get through 8. Same thing with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Same thing with Tyler Glasnow, and same thing with Shohei Ohtani. It's going to be like they want to use the bullpen as least amount of as times as possible. Alex Vesia, huge piece of their bullpen. He's out for the series. Now, he's out for, I think, just like an awful reason. I don't know the extent of it, but his wife was pregnant and she was due any day with their child. And the Dodgers mentioned that they had some complications. And so you hope for the best there, but he's going to miss the series. He's not returning. And, for just on-field purposes, that's a huge blow to the Dodgers. So now, who takes over the Alex Vesia spot in their bullpen? I don't know. To me, it just means that the starters are going to be used a lot. And if the starters go out there and they're dominant like they've been in this postseason, I mean, the bullpen, it's going to matter, but it's not going to matter as much because you'll just take away, the opportunities for their bullpen to come in and mess up. And also Tanner Scott's out as well. So Blake Trina's going to be used a lot. Roki Sasaki's going to be used a lot. They might even put Tyler Glasnow in the bullpen as well. I want the Blue Jays to win the World Series, but it's just more I think about it, especially if the Dodgers win tonight. Good luck. Now, Toronto did beat the Mariners by losing their first 2 games at home in the ALCS, but this ain't the Mariners. They're not going to choke the Dodgers. They've done all their choking prior to last World Series, and they finally got over that hump, unfortunately. So if you don't go out there tonight and win game 1, and even worse, if the Dodgers win the first 2 games here in Toronto, this thing is over in 5 at the most. But the Blue Jays do get some reinforcements tonight. They do get a bat back in their lineup. And, you look at the Blue Jays and their offense, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he has been incredible. He's obviously as hot as anybody right now in the postseason. But with Bichette back in there, playing second base, hitting cleanup tonight for the Blue Jays, that's a big boost for them. Big story here is he hasn't played second base since, I think, 2019. So first time at second base in forever in the World Series. Good luck. Do you think Mike Schilt would have done that? Do you think Mike Schilt would have done that? Because my guess is no. The thing that and going back to the interview that Dave Roberts had the other day with Colin, he mentioned like, hey, you got to adapt. You can't just do things that you've done in the regular season in the postseason. And that was typical Mike Schilt. Especially with the lineup. Like, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to have Luis Ariz hitting second every single effing game. But he's a 3-time batting champ. Okay. That just frustrates me. So, game 1, 5 p.m. tonight, Dodgers, Blue Jays. We're all Blue Jays fans here. It would be something if Canada wins the World Series this year. If you know, you know.
I kind of have like a 2001 feeling with this.
Oh, really?
Just because, no one gave Arizona a shot that year when they played the Yankees. The Yankees were just supposed to go in there and just, slap around the expansion, Diamondbacks. And, they ended up winning in 7 games with, Craig Counsell had that game winner and that walk-off. And so I don't know. Part of me thinks that, I got to wait and see how game 1 goes. I kind of have some small faith that the Blue Jays can do it just because, when they've scored runs this year or even in the playoffs, they've scored a lot of runs. But, that could change as soon as, if they just come out and just get their asses kicked tonight.
Their pitching concerns me. Their bullpen concerns me. Their offense doesn't concern me. But the thing is, like, great starting pitching could negate their great offense. And that's the Blue Jays' strength, but it's also the Dodgers' strength with their offense as well. Like, if we were to do, Brent, bullpen, starting pitching, manager, offense, and we gave the check mark to who has the better of the two, what do you give the Blue Jays that's better than the Dodgers? Starting pitching, Dodgers. Bullpen kind of feels like a wash.
I'd almost go bullpen just because technically the Dodgers aren't using their bullpen. They're using starters as their bullpen. So
right.
That's technically not their bullpen.
Starting pitching, yeah, obviously the Dodgers. And to your point, that Diamondbacks team, they had Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling. They were,
yeah.
I mean, and they also had the MVP in Gonzalez that year. He was incredible. I don't know did he win the MVP?
I don't think he did.
But he hit 50 home runs. Luis Gonzalez. Yeah, this Blue Jays team, the pitching.
Barry Bonds won it.
Okay, of course he did. Was that 73 home runs that year? 01? I think it was.
No, he only hit 60.
He never hit 60. Yeah, it had to have been 73 home runs.
Oh, no, that's the wrong one.
Yeah, it's 01 was 73. Because 02, they made the World Series. 03, yeah, I think 01, he hit 73 home runs and won the World Series. So we'll see what happens tonight. Go Blue Jays. Game 1 starts at 5 p.m. All right, coming up next, Greg Camarillo is going to join me at the bottom of the hour. Our weekly NFL Insider is going to talk some NFL this weekend. All that coming up next on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760 congratulates all our $5,000 winners in iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher powered by Donors Choose. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher making a difference, and maybe they'll be one of our next winners of $5,000 winners to make over their classroom. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. So NFL week number 8 kicked off last night in probably one of the most boring games imaginable, I would assume, because I didn't watch. Chargers all over the Vikings 37-10. Carson Wentz is awful. The Chargers, blah, but whatever. They put up 37 points in the Supercharger jerseys, ripping off history from San Diego. That's not their history because no one cares about them in Los Angeles. So they have to try to get people to care by using San Diego's history. So they beat the Vikings 37-10. And then this weekend, looking at the matchups, Lamar Jackson, he's expected to be back. Ravens and Bears in Baltimore. Could be a good one if Lamar Jackson plays in that one.
He's questionable.
Broncos, Cowboys. Cowboys have kind of been sneaky fun to watch. You know, I hate the Cowboys. They've put up a lot of points. Broncos with their crazy comeback victory over the Giants last weekend. And you got Commanders, Chiefs on Monday Night Football. But the biggest game of the weekend is the Sunday Night Football matchup in Pittsburgh. Steelers and Packers. I believe this is the first time that Aaron Rodgers has faced the Packers since leaving the Packers. I wonder what they're going to lead the NBC broadcast with on Sunday, Brent. I wonder.
TJ Watt.
Yeah, and I wonder what Colin Cowherd will lead his show with on Monday morning. It will be Colin talking about Aaron Rodgers. Guarantee it.
Yeah, unless the greatest baseball team ever does something so significant that
he'll never leave. He'll never leave lead his show with baseball unless it's like a scandal or I don't know. Especially off a NFL weekend, he'll never do that. He can't because he doesn't watch baseball. So Packers Steelers, biggest matchup of the weekend, at least the marquee matchup. I don't know if it's the best matchup. We'll see if the Colts can improve to 7-1. Odds are that they will. They're at home against the 1-6 Titans. Colts could end up, Brent, if they just take care of business in their division. They could be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they have a good chance to do it. I also think they're like, I know Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones, but their defense, Jonathan Taylor, they have weapons, Tyler Warren. They're a good football team.
Their thing is Jonathan Taylor has to stay healthy. If he goes down again, they're screwed because they've shown in years past that as soon as he goes and the running game goes, then they're in trouble. Because, Daniel Jones is fine there because he's just pretty much being a game manager. He wasn't expected to, go in there and be the man like he wasn't with the Giants. It's pretty much just like, all right, Daniel, just go in there. Don't do anything too stupid and just hand the ball off to Jonathan.
Yeah, don't make mistakes. Go out there, just playing clean football. We're not asking you to be Superman. Hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. We have a good offensive line. We got you some weapons, right? Good defense. So, yeah, the Colts are looking to go 7-1. If I were to ask you, Brent, who do you think is the worst team in the NFL?
The Saints.
You think the Saints are the worst team in the NFL?
Yes.
The Jets would like to talk to you.
I think the Jets might be one of the worst run teams just based off of old Woody coming out this week and talking crap about his starting quarterback and everything else. But I don't know. I just, on paper, I think it's probably New Orleans.
Saints are awful. Jets are awful. Raiders, they're awful. Miami's awful. I know Baltimore's 1-5, but they're not as bad as their record.
I guess maybe Miami, they're just kind of more of a surprise because nobody thought they were just going to come out and suck like they've been doing this year. They're always supposed to be, in the hunt to compete with Buffalo in the East and everything else. And then, this year they just come out and just laid a complete egg. I don't know how McDaniels is going to keep his job this year.
Yeah. And the Tua contract, that turned into an abomination.
Well, that's one of those prime examples of, and I think Green Bay is going to find out, too, with Jordan Love is you can wait a little bit. You don't have to, run out and sign them to these huge contracts and make them the highest paid, player at their position right away. You can give it some time to see if they actually, pan out. The Dolphins are just lucky this isn't baseball, because they'd be on the hook for all of that money.
Right.
Here they'll just have to bite the bullet long enough, and keep him on the team long enough until they can, trade him, or at least get the cap hit lower down enough to where they can just cut him.
Yeah. So the Dolphins are just, just awful. Just awful. A couple other and they play the Falcons this weekend. Eagles, Giants. Not many great matchups this weekend. Commanders, Chiefs could be interesting. But the thing is, Jaden Daniels not playing in that game.
Say no Jaden.
So no Jaden Daniels on Monday Night Football. Instead, we get Marcus Mariota. And then it kind of feels like with the Chiefs getting all their weapons back, they're 4-3. They're above 500 now. I'm predicting the Chiefs are going to go on a run, and it could be inevitable once again if they stay healthy. Damn Chiefs. All right, coming up next, Greg Camarillo, our NFL insider, is going to join me next to talk more about Week 8 this weekend in the NFL. Stay with us right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. We are about 40 minutes away from Game 1 of the World Series in Toronto between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. It's going to be Blake Snell going against Trey Yesovich. Tomorrow afternoon, the Aztecs are on the road to take on Fresno State for the Old Oil Can. Our pregame coverage with JR and Fletch starts at 10:30, and John and Rich will have the kick around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Coverage begins right here at 6 o'clock on your home for San Diego FC. And tonight, the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Pregame coverage starts right here at 6:45, excuse me. And the tip is going to be slightly after 7 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
All right, back here on John and Jim. We're going to be joined by Greg Camarillo momentarily, former wide receiver. He's also on football night in San Diego after Sunday Night Football on NBC. And Greg is on the line with us right now. Greg, first off, thanks for joining me. And second off, last night, two of your former teams, Chargers and Vikings, got into it. And obviously, Chargers, come away with the 37-10 win. Vikings, they got their problems of their own. The Carson Wentz situation, that ain't going to work. But now the question is, like, when JJ McCarthy returns, is that going to work? Or are the Vikings going to have to be looking for another quarterback potentially if this JJ McCarthy thing doesn't pan out?
Yeah, they put all their chips into JJ McCarthy. Sam Darnold played great for them, but they didn't want to pay him, and so he left. And they had other, Daniel Jones was there. They had other veterans, and they decided that we've seen enough from J.J. McCarthy that this is our guy. And so from my experience with the Vikings, their team culture, their training room was the most player-friendly. If you were hurt, they wanted to take care of you. It was like, they really cared about the player, whereas at some of the other teams I play for, unless you were dying, you were on the field. Didn't care about your future. Didn't care about how broken your bone was. You were going to tape it up and get back out there. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think they're seeing that, we've invested all this in JJ McCarthy. We got to give him time to heal so that when he plays, he can play to his best ability. Now they went from 3-3 to 3-4. So it's go time. Now was the time. And, teams also wait on Thursday nights to buy a little more time because it's not just 1 week. You have, 10 days or however much till the next game. And so, they have offensive line problems, and Carson Wentz experienced that. But they also have two of the best receivers in the game. They have a great duo. So JJ McCarthy just needs to get back out there, tape that thing up, and get out there and feed his guys and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who are amazing threats, and they need to find a way to get those guys going. But JJ McCarthy is their guy. Well, whether it works or not, we will see.
And on the flip side, last night Chargers put together a pretty solid performance. The return of Khalil Mack, Joe Alt. How big are those returns for the Chargers? And do you think that the Chargers kind of righted the ship a little bit?
And what he brings is veteran presence. So when Derwin James goes out with an injury, you still have Khalil Mack to fall back on. You need one of those two guys out there for that presence. And Khalil Mack was just tearing up that offensive line. But Joe Alt, it's literally night and day when he's out there. Justin Herbert had time. He could go through his reads. He could find his receivers. He could even scramble and still have time to throw the ball. And it's literally the presence of the one guy. Now, they've lost a bunch of them. But the difference in Joe Alt being out there is the difference between a good team that we saw Thursday night and a bad team that we saw in their previous game. So he is what makes, and it went last night.
Greg Camarillo joining us here on John and Jim. We were just talking about this, Greg, some of the worst teams in the NFL. It's hard to say the Jets aren't the worst team in the league. They're 0-7. You have their owner talking about, how their quarterback and making Justin Fields like, hey, this guy stinks basically. What do you make of an owner saying the things that he said about the starting quarterback of the team?
Oh man. Well, the saying is, poop flows downhill, but they use the S word in that one.
Yep.
And it's starting at the top, and it is exactly why the Jets are a disaster as an organization. The owner of the team, the man most responsible for their entire success, says we can't win with a quarterback like that. Basically said he's not talented enough, and that we have problems. And now, I mean, you have a team that wants, everyone wants to win. They're going to try to win. But then you have a head coach, a new head coach, whose the sole job of a head coach in the NFL is to get everybody believing and pushing in the same direction. You got coordinators there for the X's and O's, but a head coach's job is just to get everybody on board with the plan. And then you got an owner that's basically saying we can't win. And so it's just, this isn't a prime example of an organization that is just a disaster from the top to the bottom. And it's only going to get worse for them. I'd be surprised to see them if they could get a couple wins this year.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say. I mean, other teams are like the Dolphins and the Saints might have something to say about it, but we're getting here pretty close to saying, hey, Jets are on the clock. Like, it just kind of feels like the Jets are going to be and ended up having the number 1 pick in the NFL draft this upcoming season. Greg Camarillo joining us here on John and Jim. More QB drama around the league, and this time it's with Sean Payton and his former quarterback, Russell Wilson. I just like, I know Sean Payton said I wasn't talking about Russell, and you can say that, but it kind of feels like he was talking about Russell Wilson here.
I mean, we don't buy that. He was definitely talking about Russell Wilson. And for Russell Wilson to clap back, the Mr. Do everything by the book, Mr. Do everything right, is for him to get upset. He was talking about him. And so, the coach said, we were basically disappointed that we got to see Jackson Dart. We would have rather have seen Russell Wilson. Right. And of course you would have. Jackson Dart's playing way better football, but we don't need to go and slander your former player. But that just shows how bad their relationship was at Denver. It didn't work for either of them. And it was time to move on. And Sean Payton, who is a fiery head coach, I played 1 year for the Saints, but I never met Sean Payton because it was the year that he was suspended. And so that's what we know about Sean Payton. Is he's a fiery guy. He'll push the limits, and we didn't need to drag Russell Wilson under the bus on the way.
Yeah, it was. It's an interesting feud there between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Greg Camarillo joining us here on John and Jim. You would obviously know this better than I would, but in the NFL, it's next man up all the time, and there's no excuses. Yeah. And I'm looking at the 49ers, and literally every single game, it's next man up with some like major key contributors. And my question is about coaching, because with Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, I mean, they're doing this with smoke and mirrors here. It just emphasizes how important coaching is in the National Football League, right?
Yeah. And so you lose a guy like Bosa first, and then Fred Warner, who is the heart and soul of their defense, if not the heart and soul of their whole team. But one, it points to how amazing Fred Warner is as a player and as a leader, because they didn't skip a beat as far as their emotion and the tenacity that they played with that we normally see from him. Most teams, when they lose a guy like that, they look down. They don't have the same energy. They're not playing with the same tenacity. But for them to play that way just shows that the impact that he had, and also the impact that the coaches had. But it's the coach's job to prepare whoever's next. And now my final year in the NFL, like I mentioned, I was with the Saints, and I barely got any reps in practice, but they would still keep me around, and just in case they needed me, because they wanted a veteran who could pop in there and know the playbook without getting the reps at practice. And that's a coaching decision, And so I would presume that the Niners have that same mentality where we need backups that know the playbook, they know their X's and O's, they know where they're going, they know what they're doing without necessarily having the practice reps, because we got to prepare our first string guys. But just in case they get hurt, we've got these backups ready to go. And it's coaching, it's culture, it's coaching, and it's still a belief, like we mentioned before. The head coach's sole job is to get everybody believing. And the Niners still believe. As much as a fan can doubt them, they still believe in the locker room, and that's what matters most.
So we were actually talking about this earlier in the show here, Greg. What's the next league to have a sports betting scandal? Because the NBA, they got it on lock right now. They're the poster child of betting scandals right now for the last 20 years. Starting with referees and Tim Donaghy and all of that. But going forward, and I saw from Adam Schefter today. I don't know if you saw, but the league sent out a memo to all teams about potential betting and things to watch out for. What's your take on potentially, the NFL, the impact it could have on the NFL as far as the sports betting goes? Because everything is sponsored by FanDuel or DraftKings or, whatever it is. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I got a kick out of that this morning. Watching ESPN, they're reporting on the betting scandal, and at the bottom is a little banner that says ESPN bet and go place your bets. So clearly it's something that the leagues want to embrace because of the money that comes in. I took a look at the salary cap for this year, which was about $280 million. 10 years ago, half of that, $140-something million. So a lot of that impact is money coming in from gambling and the popularity of sports because of gambling. And then it opens all the doors as to what's going to happen. So I think the NBA has a bigger problem because there's so many games and so many plays that you can go, you can blow a few games. No one really cares. You can miss a few buckets. No one really cares. In the NFL, it would be super obvious if a guy starts blowing a game. And I think the locker room would catch on to it quicker. It would be, and then you in the NFL, you only if you lose one game, you could really destroy your season. You win one important game in a division or in the playoffs, you could destroy your whole season. So I think it is harder to pull off in the NFL. I really hope it doesn't ever come down to that, because it is, all it takes is one little guy to drop a ball on 3rd and 7 and lose the game. But for my years in the locker room, they harp on it day in and day out. Don't get involved with betting. Don't get involved with betting. Yeah. And I hope they keep a close eye on it.
I forget the wide receiver. Who was the wide receiver? I don't know if you remember. He was involved in a betting scandal recently. I forget his name, but yeah, if you are out there, the tape doesn't lie. And if these guys want to have long careers, it's on tape. And if you drop a pass to try to win some money, well, I mean, it better be worth it, because the tape's going to show that no team's going to have that player if they're going out there and not making plays. So just a fascinating story in the NBA. And obviously it's the first, maybe big scandal in a while, but it's definitely not the last. Greg Camarillo, not the last. Former NFL wide receiver, and you can catch him on Football Night in San Diego on Sunday nights after Sunday Night Football with Darnay and Rich and all the guys there over at NBC. So thanks for joining me, Greg. We'll talk to you next week, and have a great rest of your weekend. All right, man?
Sounds good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. Greg Camarillo joining us there, brought to you by Hamul Casino. All right, coming up next, World Series Game 1 right around the corner. Also, we'll get back into the Padres managerial search. It's crickets as of right now, but we'll talk about that all coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. What is happening in Toronto right now? What is going on? So we have the pregame show on for the World Series. And for some reason they have is that like a gospel group? What's happening right now?
It's Pharrell and Voices of Fire.
Oh, I knew that.
You know, Pharrell, from the Neptunes,
Yeah.
Abby and all that.
What the? Okay. Well, the pregame has started.
Starting lineups.
Starting lineups are being introduced right now. The one thing about this World Series and all, championships, like I'm a big stickler for like logos. And, the Super Bowl logo for a long time was just plain and boring after it was like really good. World Series logo, kind of boring, but I think this year's World Series logo, if you look at it, it's awesome. Like I'm very jealous. Like that World Series logo is really cool.
Oh, it's the old World Series baseball one for Sega.
Yep, the old World Series logo. It just kind of is a throwback. And I feel like that's like the cool thing now is the throwbacks. You have NBA on NBC, that's a throwback. This World Series patch logo is a throwback. In the NBA, we're going back to painting the court for the NBA Finals. That's a throwback. Like, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it.
Well, it's nostalgia sells. People like
Sells.
nostalgia.
Nostalgia does sell. Okay, so coming up next hour, we're going to talk more about the Padres managerial search. Also, we're going to hear from Stacey Terry Hudson at the bottom of next hour as well. Also have my back page for you. But, just sticking with the NFL here, and you look at the drama between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I like drama, but the fact that like Sean Payton's going out there and saying, "Oh man, we wish you saw the other quarterback," or whatever he said, instead of Jackson Dart, like what? Like, come on, man. I do like Jackson Dart a lot. And the Giants, you see this story today, Brett? Giants got fined like $200,000, and Dayball got fined like $100,000 for his, I guess, interference in the concussion protocol with Jackson Dart. Like, come on, man. You know what the deal is. You can't do that. Like, it's concussion protocol. You can't go to a doctor and try to peer pressure him to get that player back in the game. It's not 1995 anymore. 1995, they were just allowing anybody to go back into a game with a concussion. It was like the wild, wild west. Now it's a little different. So I'm very distracted right now because this performance at the World Series, and I can't hear it, but it looks crazy.
It's not bad. The crowd's into it.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. The atmosphere, I can tell you one thing. The atmosphere is going to be wild in Toronto. Thank goodness that we have Toronto because the atmosphere in LA sucks. Sure. Let's hear the starting lineups here for the Blue Jays.
Hitting second, the left fielder, number 36, David Schneider.
Who? Davis who?
He's the Canadian waiting.
27, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting fifth in the bullpen. Batting fourth, second baseman, number 11, Bo Bichette.
Whoops. All right, bro, that's enough. So the atmosphere there is great. Like I said, at least we get the game one atmosphere that it deserves.
I just had to look it up. I was like, is Pharrell Canadian or something? It's like, no, he's from Virginia.
He's from Virginia. But we all know Dodger Stadium's going to have just an awful atmosphere because that stadium won't be full, and it will be empty in some areas, and Dodger fans just, yeah, they're the worst. All right, coming up next, we're going to dive into the Padres managerial search. We'll give a couple names to you that I think that could be very realistic. Also, we're going to hear from Stacey Terry Hudson at the bottom of next hour as well. Stay with us right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. We're about 10 minutes away from first pitch of Game 1 of the World Series tonight in Toronto, with the Blue Jays going against the Dodgers. They just wrapped up doing the national anthems a moment ago. It's going to be Blake Snell going for LA and Trey Yesovich going for Toronto. Tomorrow afternoon, the Aztecs are on the road to take on Fresno State for the Old Oil Can. Our pregame coverage with Fletch and JR starts at 10:30, and John and Rich will have the kick around 12:30. San Diego FC's very first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Our coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock on your home for San Diego FC. And tonight, the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6:45 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. Need HVAC? This month, get 0% for 18 months on a new system. Schedule your free proposal at AndersonPHA.com. Anderson, fast, reliable, wow.
Eric Rubner can do everything from a marketing perspective and resources perspective and money. I just don't get why the CFO, a chief financial officer, would have any involvement in who manages the ball club.
Because he has equity in the team, because he wants control, because he wants power.
But does that make sense to you?
No. Now, live from the San Diego Sports 760 studios, it's John and Jim.
Final hour of John and Jim for the week. We're going to hear from Stacey Harry Hudson at the bottom of the hour. Aztecs women's basketball season right around the corner. My back page for you at 5:45. We're going to give an update on Chucky Lozano coming up here in our next segment. But, we started the show with today, the Padres managerial search still ongoing, and it is crickets. It's absolutely crickets. Now, am I surprised by that? No, I'm not surprised at all. It's Game 1 of the World Series today. It's been less than 2 weeks since Mike Shildt quit. So I'm not surprised. It wasn't like I'm not going to say they didn't fire Mike Shildt, because I still don't know if that's not the case or not. I have no clue. But, these things take a while, and especially if the team and the organization and AJ Preller was caught off guard at all, then you're going to need to go out and do a pretty thorough search for a manager. Now, Albert Pujols reportedly had an interview with the Padres on Wednesday. Brian Esposito reportedly also got interviewed by the Padres. He was their bench coach for the last couple seasons. Ruben Niebla, I don't think it's been officially announced that he got an interview with the Padres, but if he hasn't already, he will soon. And then the last name that I think has a pretty decent shot at becoming the next Padres manager is Ryan Flaherty. Why do I say that? Well, if you remember, a couple years ago when they did not want Bob Melvin anymore, and then Bob Melvin went to go interview for the Giants job, and the Padres were like, "Oh no, we're so sad to see you go, Bob. Oh man." Who did AJ want? He wanted Ryan Flaherty. And the reason why he didn't become the manager was because Group Dog and maybe Eric Katsenda and whoever else in that organization stepped in, and they chose Shildt. Now, obviously, they had to probably convince Preller to go to the route of Mike Shildt, but still, nonetheless, from reports, it sounds like that Ryan Flaherty was Mike Shilt's guy, was AJ Preller's guy. And it didn't work out. So, second time around, a couple years later, AJ Preller's looking for a manager. And Ryan Flaherty's still out there. He's the bench coach for the Chicago Cubs. And I just feel like it's going to come down to Ryan Flaherty and maybe Albert Pujols. I don't know, but I do think that if we're looking at when finalists potentially get announced, if they even do, Ryan Flaherty will be a finalist for this managerial job here in San Diego. I feel like that's going to happen. Is he the sexy name out there? No. We all remember that he was the Padres offensive coordinator. Like, that was his title, offensive coordinator. It's the dumbest title ever. Like, this isn't football. Why are we giving guys offensive coordinator titles? He's the hitting coach. And the team's offense sucked. You had Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. on the team. The offense was awful. I said this either earlier this week or last week. I can't remember when I said it, but talking about the Padres' biggest needs this offseason, it wasn't one player, it wasn't, a manager, it was a philosophy. Their biggest need this offseason is to make sure that their offensive philosophy isn't as awful as it was this past year. The fact that this team not only led the league in bunts, but they were looking for opportunities to bunt in big key situations, giving up outs more than any team in baseball, not hitting home runs, was an absolute joke. You have too many good players on this team to be essentially dead last in baseball in home runs. You have future Hall of Famers on this team. And the fact that you led the league in sacrifice bunts is a joke. So whoever they bring in here, they have to completely flip this offensive mentality for this team. You can't be as bad as this team was last year offensively next year, or you aren't going anywhere. You're not winning a World Series. You maybe don't even make the postseason. Like, that's how important it is next year to make sure that this team's offensive identity looks nothing like this past year's offensive identity. I don't want to see all this sacrifice bunting. I don't want to see all that, the lack of power. I don't want to see Fernando Tatis Jr. go out there and at the plate look completely average. I saw this the other day. Well, if Fernando Tatis Jr. just fixed his launch angle, he'd be the greatest baseball player in the sport. Okay. Easier said than done. And maybe that's the case, and that's what we're talking about. How can you unlock Fernando Tatis Jr.? Is it going to be like he has to do it himself? Or whoever they bring in here, can that person help unlock Toddy? And that's why I'm looking at Albert Pujols as a guy that I think can unlock Fernando Tatis Jr. Do I think that Ryan Flaherty could do that? Not really. But hey, he could be maybe a great manager. I don't know. He's boys with Manny, so that's important. But what are you going to do with the rest of the coaching staff? Are you going to get rid of Victor Rodriguez? Are you going to, if you hire Ryan Flaherty, are you going to try to figure out a way to keep Ruben Niebla? Does Ruben Niebla want to stay here if he's not the manager? Does the new manager want to come in and hire his own staff? Like, these are all questions that we have to all be asking about this Padres team going forward with whoever the manager is. So if you were to give me an envelope, and this is what Darren does, and I hope Darren's still doing this. I don't know if he's doing this on his Section 1904 podcast, but write a name of who you think the Padres manager is. Said this earlier in the show. I have two envelopes. One's my heart, one's my head. And I probably am going with my head. And that would be Ryan Flaherty. Earlier this week, I said, just make it Albert Pujols. What are we doing here? It's not that hard. Sign AJ Preller to an extension. Make Albert Pujols the manager. Like, what are we doing? Don't make things more difficult than they need to be. Don't zig when maybe you need to zag. Just go out there and get it done. And hopefully this guy's the right guy, whoever they hire. You know, everyone has to start somewhere. Does hiring a first-time manager kind of scare me a little bit? Yeah, for sure. I mean, PTSD of Jace Tingler. Andy Green had no shot here, by the way. So I can't even put him into the category of first-time managers with this, you know, under AJ Preller. But whoever they go out and hire, I do feel like, one, it's going to be a first-time guy. I don't see any retreads out there that I feel like AJ is going to go out and hire, or whoever's going to hire with this club. And looking at the first-time guys, the names, other than Albert Pujols, you're kind of like, okay. I can get behind Ruben Niebla. Absolutely, I can get behind Ruben Niebla. But if they don't go Ruben Niebla and they don't go Albert Pujols, the likeliest name to be chosen to be the Padres manager here kind of feels like it's Ryan Flaherty. You know, because is Phil Nevin an option? Right? Former manager there, former Padre. We had Phil Nevin on our show about a month and a half ago. He mentioned that he would love to get back into managing. It just would take the right opportunity. Would San Diego be a fit for Phil? Sure it would. Sure, if the Padres called Phil and asked him if he wanted to become a manager, he would probably jump at the opportunity to do that. Phil, man, he wouldn't take S from anybody, I can tell you that. Fernando Tatis Jr. sulking, too effing bad. Manny Machado is giving up at bats with awful swings. Hey, step it up. Guys aren't locked in. Hey, step it the F up. He wouldn't take crap from anybody. Nobody. And being a former player, he would know how to manage that clubhouse. And if you give him talented players, you know, with the Angels, he didn't get that. But maybe it's a different thing this time around if Phil Nevin were to come here and you give him talented players. You know, this core is still here. They have to spend this offseason. They have to get, you know, some arms in here, some complementary pieces, and they're going to be a good team if healthy next year, presumably. So, you know, can a first-time guy take a team that won 90 games and bring him back to the postseason? Can a guy like Phil Nevin, who is a former manager, come in here and not be just another retread and, you know, things work out? It's fascinating. The thing is, though, we're not going to know, I think, at least for another week. Could be wrong. They could do it during an off day in the World Series. But I would be surprised. I'm not saying that I wouldn't welcome it. I absolutely would welcome it. Give us something to talk about. But in the meantime, I do think this thing is going to be a thorough process, and it probably might stretch out past the World Series, but definitely will happen before the GM meetings. I feel that is a strong, you know, a strong possibility that we'll have a manager here in San Diego for the Padres in the next week and a half, 2 weeks tops. Have to. All right, coming up next, an update on Chucky Lozano. We'll give you that because STFC's first playoff match is this Sunday night. Also, we'll update you on the World Series as we're underway in Toronto. And then the bottom of the hour, it's Stacey Terry Hudson. We're going to hear what she had to say as the Aztecs women's basketball season is about to get underway here shortly. All that coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, SDFC's first playoff game is Sunday night against the Portland Timbers. Our pregame coverage begins at 6 p.m. right here on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. We're heading to the bottom of the first inning in Toronto as the Blue Jays completed a 1-2-3 top of the first inning. Shohei Ohtani struck out in his first at bat. What is new other than game 4 of the NLCS? He has been awful.
It was the most amazing strikeout though in Major League history though.
Oh, for sure. It was a beautiful strikeout. Did you see Shohei and his reaction? Oh man. It was so wholesome and heartwarming.
So classy.
So classy. So we're heading to the bottom of the first inning in Toronto. So SDFC, first playoff game of their existence this Sunday at Snapdragon Stadium as they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They'll be taking on the Portland Timbers. You can listen to that match right here on San Diego Sports 760. Our pregame starts at 6 p.m. And one of the biggest stories surrounding SDFC heading into the postseason was the availability of Chucky Lozano. You know, with the incident that happened with him, we didn't know if he was going to be around. We didn't know if the attitude of him was going to be about the team. Like, it was kind of a weird situation. Like, a lot of people just didn't know what was going on with Chucky. 9 goals this year, 9 assists for SDFC. Well, thankfully, he posted today on social media saying this: I'm a passionate and competitive person who always wants to give everything for the team. Sometimes that same intensity can lead to reactions that don't reflect who I am or the respect I have for everyone around me. I didn't react in the right way, and I've already taken responsibility, addressed it, and moved on. What matters most to me is continuing to grow as a player, as a teammate, and as a person. Every day I'm learning, improving, and doing my best to contribute positively to the team. I'm fully focused on what's ahead, on the goals we share, and on helping San Diego achieve everything we've been working for. We've built something special together, and I'm proud to be part of the club's journey for many years to come. That's great to hear from Chucky. We'll see about his availability on Sunday. This is Mike Ibarra after practice today during open media session. When he was asked about Chucky's availability come Sunday, this is what he had to say.
We don't know. We'll make that decision like we do with all players at the end of the week.
Can you confirm the Athletics report that it was because of a verbal altercation that stepped them out of the game?
Like I said, we had a situation that we're handling internally. At the end of the day, Irving is fully integrated in the team, in the training. He's laughing. He's working hard. He's 100% committed to making his way back into the group, and we're 100% committed to supporting him in his way back into the group. And we'll just take it day by day and make that decision when it needs to be made.
All right, so there's an update from Mike Ibarra, head coach of SDFC, on Chucky Lozano. My guess is we probably won't even know until game time if Chucky's going to be playing or if he's going to be available, because they keep these things pretty close to the chest. And for soccer, they don't tell you the injury. They'll just tell you lower body injury or upper body injury. And this is not an injury, but still, you get my point, is like they don't disclose anything. They don't let you know anything that's going on until game time. And even then, still up in the air. So hopefully, for SDFC's sake, Chucky's back in the lineup on Sunday. Other big news with SDFC today: Yepi Tereskov. He signed an extension to the 2027 season, the captain of the team. So Yepe will be back here, and he's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So he's back with the club through 2027, which is great news for SDFC because he is a fantastic player. He's the captain of the team. You know, the team is pretty set here for the immediate future. And if they can go on to make a deep run in the MLS Cup postseason and hell, even win a championship, win the MLS Cup, that'd be the first major championship in the history of San Diego sports. Think about that. All it took was a soccer team to come in here in their very first year. If they could pull that off, that would be absolutely incredible. I think the town would 100% get behind it. And I can't wait for Sunday to see the atmosphere at Snapdragon Stadium. It's expected to be a sellout. Of course it's going to be a sellout. Duh. The fans have been incredible this season. So it is going to be electric on Sunday night. It is going to be loud on Sunday night. If you're going, get ready to be on your feet for 90 minutes. Because that supporter section, ooh, it is going to be rocking. The blue smoke bombs, the chants, the flags. Manny Machado's going to be there. Manny Machado released today. Of course, he released the hype video for STFC in the postseason, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Manny will be there. I'm sure he'll have a special part in the pregame ceremony, getting ready for their very first postseason match. And the atmosphere there is going to be electric. Just looking at the weather forecast for Sunday night. Pull this up here. So, yeah, 73 and sunny during the day. Going to drop down to about 56, 57 degrees at night. But the good thing is clear skies. Don't have to worry about weather conditions. It is going to be a beautiful day and a beautiful night and a beautiful week here in San Diego. What is new? All right, update here in game one of the World Series. Still in the bottom of the first inning. 2 outs with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up. Nobody on for the Blue Jays here. And so we are underway here in Toronto. All right, coming up next, Stacey Terry Hudson. She joined us earlier. Not earlier today, but yesterday she joined us. Talk about the Aztecs women's basketball season about to get underway from Mountain West Conference Media Day. You're going to hear from Stacey Terry Hudson coming up next right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey guys, it's Jim from John and Jim for the all-new Jamul Casino and Resort. If you get down to Jamul Casino, you can indulge in a decadent brunch at Prime Cut featuring lobster tails and hand-carved prime rib. Also, you can experience the ultimate sports showdown. You can catch all the postseason action here in baseball, World Series, NFL, college football, NHL, soccer playoffs. Just go to Tony Gwynn Sports Pub where fandom meets fantastic. You can also enjoy the great environment there at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub as well and savor in some of their best food items at Jamul Casino. Also, you can go there to Jamul 23. You can enjoy the VIP experience, indulge in the chef-curated specials like the lobster and the decadent desserts, all with stunning panoramic views. It's all happening at Jamul Casino Resort, the Players' Place.
This report is sponsored by the California Secretary of State. Game 1 of the World Series between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers is currently underway. Right now in the bottom of the first with 2 outs, the Blue Jays are threatening. They got runners on the corner, and there is no score currently. Right now, the Aztecs are on the road tomorrow afternoon to take on Fresno State to battle for the oil can. Coverage starts at 10:30 with Fletch and JR, and John and Rich will have the kick around 12:30. SDFC's first playoff game ever is Sunday night against Portland. Our coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock on your home for San Diego FC. And later tonight, the Lakers take on Ant-Man and the Timberwolves. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:45 with the tip around 7 on your home for Lakers basketball in San Diego Sports 760. In California, voting is easy. Drop your ballot in a secure drop box, vote early in person, or mail it. Don't delay, vote today. Get more information at sos.ca.gov. A message from the California Secretary of State.
So last year, the Aztecs women's team made the NCAA tournament, also winning the Mountain West Conference title, the Mountain West Conference title game in Las Vegas. It was an epic one. Stacey Terry Hudson, she joined us yesterday for Mountain West Conference Media Day to talk about the upcoming season. The first question that we asked her was, with all the highs and lows of last year, how is she, feeling about the start of this upcoming season?
I'm feeling really confident. Cautiously optimistic, but confident. We had a great season last year, and we got off the plane. It was funny. I was talking to our girls. I was like, I feel like we were just here. So excited to be back in Vegas. We've done some good things over the last couple of years here in the tournament, and looking to be more consistent throughout the year. And we have a totally different team. So it's been interesting to try to reimagine how we're going to do things this year. We're very, very talented, but we're young and inexperienced. So it's going to be an interesting year this year.
Yeah, especially coming off the high of last season, making the tournament the first time. Obviously, as you've been here, you've consistently taken this program to higher, lengths. When you look at this upcoming season, how do you continue to build off of what you guys have built here from last year going into this season?
Well, I think it started a couple of years ago when we lost in the championship game here in Vegas. We came back with a group that was so determined to not let that happen again. And with the addition of our fabulous freshmen last year, I really think it carried over. And I saw the same thing happen as we came back from the break that we took after we won it all, and they came back even more determined. Those freshmen won a championship at their first year in college. So my vets are now my sophomores, and we have an outstanding sophomore class, but they're still just sophomores. So we've done a great job just filling some gaps with replacing a lot of the talent that we lost to graduation. And so I'm curious to see how we can all gel. So far, so good. We're making great strides. I think we're actually a little bit ahead of where we were in years past, but we haven't played anybody yet. So I'm excited to get out and play some people and see how we rank.
Stacey Terry Hudson, Aztecs women's basketball head coach, joining us right now from Mountain West Media Day in Las Vegas. So you have, I guess, the opportunity of opening your season at the Honda Center against a preseason top 5 team in UCLA. What type of opportunity is that? What do you hope to get out of a game like that to start your year?
Yeah, you say top 5, I say top 3. It's a very talented UCLA team, and we actually scrimmaged them last year when it didn't count. So I said, hey, why not let it count this year? But, we're excited to play the best. For us to take that next step, I think we need to get those experiences and play in those type of arenas. So we aren't new to it when we hope to get there, at the end of March. So our non-conference, I don't know if I did us any favors, but our non-conference is really, really challenging. Probably one of the toughest ones since I've been the head coach here at San Diego State. We're going to play at K-State. We're going to play Penn State. Obviously, you mentioned UCLA. Santa Clara is going to be really, really good. So we're going to give us this very young team some tests early, but I really think it's going to pay off on the back end of the season when we get into conference play. I think we'll be prepared for the grind of the Mountain West for sure.
Well, what was that experience like for you as a head coach last year, making the tournament? What did you learn about yourself maybe, and what was the experience like for you overall?
I think over the last couple years, especially, kind of, coming to it last year, I think it's about the preparation. It was interesting. I was talking to some of the people here, some of the other podcasters and reporters here, and they were telling me, talking to you going into the tournament, that I seemed very confident. I was very confident in our young women and the preparation that our staff had and the preparation that the girls were ready. I mean, they were locked in and focused. So I think that really has been the separator for us, is the preparation. We do a great job scouting. We're prepared for our opponents, and we're very, and almost to a fault sometimes, but we're very confident. Yeah. We're very confident that we can beat anybody. So we take that very healthy ego into every practice and every game that we have, and just making sure that we're putting our best foot forward and trying to get better every time. So I was very confident last year with our girls because of how we prepared. And I think that's what I'm taking moving forward.
You told, I want to say, a funny story this offseason about like when you played the triple overtime Mountain West Championship game and your players asked like, well, what do we do now? When it went from like the first overtime to the second overtime, like,
yeah,
are the rules going to change?
Right. One of my fifth-year seniors was like, hey, how much time for this last one going into the third one? And I was like, honey, it's 5 minutes. Yeah, we're going to play until we have one more point. And then she turned and said to me, well, what after that? Is it sudden death? And I was like, no, it's not AAU. No, we got to keep playing.
That's hilarious.
So, and I was just talking about the game the other day, and, it brings back such great memories. I haven't even watched it start to finish because I don't want to ruin any of it, because in my memory, we played an outstanding, perfect game. But, I never thought that we would lose. I mean, we just always jumped out, and it was just like, okay, we need just to make one more free throw or one more shot. But just really proud of the product that we put out into the universe. It was a nationally televised game. Wyoming is a fantastic team. I thought it was a great display of Mountain West basketball and how much the women's game is growing. So just proud to be a part of such a legendary game.
So Stacey Terry Hudson with us right now, San Diego State women's basketball coach. And again, their opener is less than 2 weeks away against UCLA. You also have, you talked about your talented sophomore class, but you also have the preseason freshman of the year, Kendall Mosley. That's how you pronounce the last name, right? Mosley?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about Kendall coming into your program?
Kendall's still learning, but she's so good. She's so good. She comes from a great program, a great family. She's an awesome kid and a very confident kid, and can shoot it lights out. So she's gonna come in and blend nicely with the other shooters and guard play, excellent guard play we have on our team. I love freshmen that ask the right questions, if you know what I mean. She has a high IQ. She's still learning and trying to figure it out, but she asks really good questions. So I know the future's bright for her, and I'm excited that she's in an Aztec uniform. You're going to enjoy watching her play.
What's your thoughts on the overall Mountain West Conference as a whole heading into this season?
It's interesting, and it's kind of like TBD, to be determined, because we've lost a lot either to the transfer portal, and most of all, a lot of us have lost a lot to graduation. So it's going to be a new league. So it's going to be a dogfight, I think, night in and night out. And with the landscape of college basketball and us having a little bit of resources to, kind of upgrade some of our players, I think it's going to be a great season of basketball for the Mountain West. But it's kind of like, we do these preseason rankings, and I'm grateful that they gave us the respect that they did. But I'm kind of like, who knows, we don't really know who we're playing, until we can watch some film. So I think it's going to be a very competitive year in the Mountain West. We have fantastic coaches in this league. So it's always a battle night in and night out. So I'm excited to kind of see how it all plays out.
Your home opener is November 8th against Cal State San Marcos. That night, you'll reveal a championship banner, Mountain West champions in 2025. That'll be before the game. How much are you looking forward to? That'll kind of be surreal, right? You're preparing for a game, but you're paying homage to what you accomplished a year ago.
Absolutely. We have some catching up to do. We all know what our men have been able to do over the last, couple decades. So our side of the gym, we need to hang some more banners. So I'm grateful for us to be doing our part and, and show off our rings. And it's really about the girls and the fans. And we've just had some faithful fans that have stuck with us through the good and the bad. And I'm just really grateful that, I was allowed the time to get this university and this program back to where it was. We've had some wonderful teams come through San Diego State and programs, and I'm just excited to be part of the success and see our banner go up next to theirs.
I'll join you for the Bahamas trip. All right.
Come on. I was just trying to invite everybody to come. We call the games. We could do all kinds of stuff to make it worth their while, but it should be fun. And, when we went to Cancun last year and had 3 really good games and played some some really good Power 4 teams. And I think that was a big piece of why we were able to do what we were doing and playing our best basketball at the end of March. So I'm hoping to recreate that magic and bottle it up.
Yeah, there's worse places to go.
Yeah,
absolutely, right?
I'll be like the equipment guy for that game for you guys.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because we were supposed to go to Chicago, which I'm sure would have been a fantastic trip in the dead of winter, you know, in November, December. And that got canceled. So Bahamas was a backup. So I was like, that's one hell of a backup.
That's a hell of a backup.
Darn it, Bahamas.
I know.
Coach, we appreciate you. Thanks for taking time for us. We're looking forward to the start of another Aztecs women's basketball season. Congrats on last year's success. We're looking forward to watching more of it this upcoming year.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the cover.
All right, there's Stacey Terry Hudson there of the Aztecs women's basketball program. Update in the World Series game 1. We're still scoreless. Blue Jays had the bases loaded in the first inning. Made Blake Snell throw a lot of pitches, but Blake Snell got out of it to keep it scoreless. And right now, Dodgers have 1 on and nobody out in the top of the second. Blake Snell threw the most pitches he's thrown in the postseason this year in the top of the bottom of the first inning. So this might be a bullpen day, or at least the bullpen's gonna have to come in earlier than expected if Blake Snell continues to pitch like this. I was thinking to myself, that's the Blake Snell I remember. Throw a bunch of pitches, have the guys at the plate foul a bunch of pitches off, walk guys, have constant trouble, and then somehow to nowhere get out of it. But you're up to like 85 pitches in like the 4th inning. So we'll see if he settles down or not. Hopefully he doesn't. And hopefully the Blue Jays take advantage and make Blake Snell continue to throw a million pitches. All right, coming up next, we'll wrap up the show with my back page. Stay with us right here on John and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back here on John and Jim, it's always Kike Hernandez. Always. That guy is just his postseason success is ridiculous. Dodgers are on the board first. They lead 1-0. Bases are now loaded for the Dodgers with 1 out. Blue Jays had a chance in the bottom of the first inning, didn't capitalize. Dodgers, they have a chance to kind of bust this thing wide open really quickly here. Well, that was a fun World Series, Brent. What was your favorite part? Because my favorite part,
Pharrell in the choir.
Yeah, it was good. I like that. I like when the Blue Jays threatened in the bottom of the first inning. That was fun. Introductions were nice.
The intro package they did was okay with the baseball card thing.
That was pretty cool. I like the logo. Logo's nice. I like the World Series logo a lot.
It was kind of cheesy. You couldn't hear it, but during the baseball card thing, they would like cut to these, I'm doing air quotes, fans, because they were actors pretending like they were fans. But when they cut to the Dodger fans, when Ohtani hit the third home run, the Dodger fan girl turns to her mom and goes, "He did it!" Oh my gosh! She's like, "Yeah, I'm sure that's the way it went down."
Well, anyway, that was a fun World Series. Yeah, lasted about 40 minutes. That was fun. I will keep you updated on that game, but let's wrap up the week with this, Brent. I don't see how any regular person can go to like a World Series game, especially with, Shohei Ohtani in it, and not expect to drop anything under like a couple grand. Why I say that is because if you want to go to Game 4 of the World Series at Dodger Stadium, sitting behind home plate,
right next to Mary Hart.
No, not next to her corpse of a body. It is, where is it? It's 2 tickets, section 1DG, whatever that is, row BB. On StubHub, guess how much those tickets cost?
Probably about $5,000 for World Series.
World Series.
Yeah.
$5,000.
It's World Series. You're sitting right behind home plate.
Times that by 8.
John's not here.
$40,000.
Okay. I was gonna say, I take it you did the math in advance.
It costs $40,000 to go to Game 4 of the World Series, sit behind home plate.
And you're only gonna watch 3/4 of the game anyways, because you're gonna show up late and leave early.
Now in Toronto, if you at the Rogers Center, it also serves as a hotel. Oh boy, Shohei's up with the bases loaded. At the Rogers Center, it serves as a hotel in the outfield. Did you know that, Brent? They have so hotel rooms.
I think it used to be a Hard Rock hotel.
Well, they redid everything. Like the whole entire place got redone. It looks actually fantastic. For one night, for a 1 king size bed baseball stadium view guest room, one night during the World Series, cost $8,500.
Yeah, that don't surprise me.
It is a hotel room.
Yeah, I think how cool that would be. You could just lay in your bed and just look outside the window, and there's the World Series going on.
That'd be so sick. All right, Ohtani's up at the bases loaded. Let's see if his postseason struggles other than Game 4 of the NLCS continue. Cooper Flagg made his debut against Wembanyama the other night. Victor Wembanyama had like the greatest game ever. And a ticket, the first Cooper Flagg debut ticket, has been sold on eBay. The winning bid, $836. Why? Like, why would you buy that?
You're banking on his future and him being a Hall of Famer. It's definitely not from anything he did in the game.
Maybe it was $800 because of Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, the market for Cooper Flagg is through the roof. I'm going to wait on it because I don't think that the Blue just got out of it. That was huge. I don't think
that was the greatest ground out to first in the history of baseball.
It really was. All right, maybe we have a series. Or at least we have a game. because that thing could have blown out. That could have been very bad very quickly for the Blue Jays. Someone today for an Eddie Van Halen guitar that's signed by Eddie Van Halen. Someone today at an auction, it's used and signed by Eddie Van Halen, paid $2.73 million today for this guitar. I mean, I get it. It's Eddie Van Halen, but
was it like from one of the video? Oh, dude, that's the famous Van Halen guitar, dude. That's not like just some normal guitar. That's the one from like the Jump video, and yeah, that's a famous guitar. So I can see that.
Of course, it's a famous guitar. I knew that. Like this.
Yeah, why won't you? That song only came out when you were negative 12 years old.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, no, that's a famous guitar. If
All
you
right,
go back
makes
and watch like old school, like David Lee Roth Van Halen videos, you'll see that guitar in there a lot.
Got it. Yeah, it does look kind of worn, so definitely used for sure. All right, makes sense. That's cool. Finally, with Stranger Things right around the corner, Brent, Eggo Waffle, has released a special Stranger Things strawberry waffle for a limited time only. You go to their website, you can see where you can find these Eggo Stranger Things strawberry waffles. But it's branded with obviously 11. If you haven't watched the show, then you're like, why did this waffles meet? She eats a lot of waffles in like the first season. It's like a big thing. And I think in season 2. So strawberry waffles.
They brought them back. They used to make those.
Well, I'm sure that they just took the strawberry waffles they used to make and then just stuck the Stranger Things tag on it, right?
Well, I hope they're not the same ones because I think they discontinued them like years ago. But yeah, they used to make them just like the blueberry ones.
I love me some Eggo waffles. Like,
yeah,
they're the best. They just bring me right back to childhood. Like, throw a couple Eggo waffles in the toaster and like put some powdered sugar or some.
I put peanut butter on it.
Peanut butter, interesting. That actually sounds really good
because the peanut butter will melt on the waffle and it'll fill all the little syrup cups with peanut butter.
Wow. Yeah. Just peanut butter or like syrup?
You can put syrup on it too if you want, but you're going to need like a glass of milk or something because you're going to get super thirsty.
That does sound delicious. Aaron's gone tonight. I'm riding solo at home, so I might end up with some Eggo waffles at my house just because that sounds delicious and I'm starving. All right, that will do it for the show today. Thanks to Greg Camarillo for joining me. Thanks to Brent. Thanks to all of you out there. Aztec football tomorrow. SDFC playoffs on Sunday. We'll talk to you on Monday afternoon. Till then, have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.